city of man's bread. It was like the girl from Ipanema in Ryan's World. Oh, Garth, can I be Frank? Can I still be Garth?
Oh, very good. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show Viewers, Comments and Questions Live. Dan here.
Mick here.
Chris here.
Hello.
Chris Buck has joined us for the day. We've been hanging out and making ridiculous noises, and check out these two silly things sat behind me. It's Browntown. It's Browntown, people. Check it out. Yeah, a lovely old concert and super. The super that doesn't exist.
Super that doesn't exist. It's I can't obviously we talked about that earlier. That was a 66 or 67. I can't quite remember.
Right.
Why someone did that to it, I don't really know.
So they made the front panel for it.
Someone on YouTube commented when I did a video about it. Someone commented there was a guy, but I don't think he's no longer doing it.
Right.
Who was making like custom faceplates, like kind of
okay.
fictional faceplates,
Okay.
as it were. So
Yeah. I've got some magic beans, Chris. I was wondering if you'd swap them for the concert.
like it, do you?
Yeah, I do. I do.
It's
In a big way.
it's a cool amp. The change of speaker, I think, is the next one on that one. That's the only thing that's kind of did a A/B recently between where were we? Recorded a show in Switzerland or something we did, and Brendan at front of house sent me the files basically to listen back to, and the super sounds markedly nicer in my opinion than the concert.
Oh wow.
Oh, it's awful. You just should sell it.
Yeah, I'd get rid of it straight away.
Sell it at a loss.
Move it on. There's no need for it anymore.
Fair. Fair's fair.
There's a croc skin covered Zillacab there. That's sort of
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that'd do.
I'm not giving that up. What the hell?
that's the one with the EVs. Isn't it?
Anyway, welcome to That Pedal Show Viewer Comments and Questions. We are joined by Chris Buck. We just finished filming a show with Chris, which is great because it's been ages since we've caught up.
Ages.
In a while.
If you don't know who Chris is, push the rock off and
Crawl out, emerge into the sunlight.
you'll see the
I've yet to do that, as we've already established.
all kinds of things have changed in the world. Right, God, are we live? Are we
We
live?
are.
That's the question I want to know.
I believe so. There's a lot of while we're doing this, you hear a lot of this. Beep 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 beep.
Beep, 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 beep,
Well, I've
beep,
already
beep,
been told to move out the centre of the screen as my forehead was throwing the white balance off. So we're off to a good start anyway.
Question 1: what white balance do you use?
Yeah,
No.
Chris's forehead.
No production questions. We promise. We know how much you hate them. Oh God, why is it so complex?
First of all, obviously thanks to Chris for joining us today. Massive thank you to anyone that came to any of the gigs that we had last week with Andy Timmons. I've popped back into today straight into filming. We haven't defragged or anything about the gigs yet.
Dan's been sick.
I've been unwell. I've been a poorly soldier. However, those gigs were amazing. So thank you to anyone that came out. It was absolutely brilliant fun.
What was the cabin like? I've never played there.
It was great.
Cool.
Dude.
There's only 250 people. I mean, from a Cardinal
yeah,
Black
yeah.
point of view, but 250 is a good number for
Oh,
us.
absolutely, yeah.
Thank you to everyone who came. It was great. And Jake is here, who stepped in for me singing on the gigs because I was a poorly soldier.
He did a splendid
And a
job.
brilliant job, Jake. Thank you so much, mate.
One of the videos popped up actually on YouTube the other day. I watched it. It's White Room.
Oh,
Something
really?
like at the cabin. Yeah. It's great. Sir? In the black room with white curtains, etc.
Well, it's funny because we were rehearsing that with the two of us, and it's like, no, it needs those 3-part guitars, and it's like so glorious. Get that, like playing with Andy is such a treat, and yeah, it's just brilliant fun, just absolutely brilliant fun.
Did you do Hard Day's Night as well?
We did with the proper
amazing.
chord in the front.
So what was... Go on then.
Oh, it's mad.
Yeah.
It was completely mad, the explanation.
So who's doing what?
Andy and I were playing an octave of the same thing.
Right, okay.
Dan was playing something else,
Yeah,
and the bass was holding a different note.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
Bass
it's
is
like-
D,
and it's like-
isn't it?
yeah.
And then the guitar chord is an F add 9, I think.
There's something else going on, and then there's another chord which is a D sus over
Right,
the F
okay,
add 9 over the D,
Yeah.
and it's like hit it all at the same time,
Yeah.
and the whole crowd just goes, "Ah!" And it's like that's the sound. It's amazing.
I dug into that a couple of years ago, and for me, 90% of the sound of that chord is the piano part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hang on, you did a Friday Fretworks
Yeah,
on
I
it, didn't
did.
you?
But I couldn't for the life of me. That was the one bit. The rest of it is all fairly conclusively proven. Is you can,
Right.
With the game Rock Band or whatever it was, all of the masters came out, and you kind of isolate what John Lennon was doing, what George was doing, and what Paul was doing. The enigma is the piano because there's so much. It's a big old
Okay.
cluster of chords, and I think as well probably more than one person playing piano at the same time because there's a lot of stuff over different octaves.
Right.
So yes, an interesting one. It's cool though.
So that was an interesting test in power cable management. The fact that the cable came out and the laptop didn't whip off the table into the
USB-C, innit?
yeah.
My MacBook
Before they went to MagSafe.
My MacBook currently has
Sorry.
jack headphones stuck in it, and I have a set of headphones without a jack.
For that very reason.
Yeah.
I say before they went to MagSafe. What I mean is before they went back to MagSafe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, finally then, welcome to combustion engineering, or combustion engine, of course, yes. That thing we all used to use. Antonio Marcello is on from Canada. Hi, Antonio. Square Wave Symphonies, Alex is on. Hey, mate.
G'day,
great
mate.
to see you. And it was lovely to see you at the Experience Day. Thank you for joining us. Elijah Blue Ricks is on from Tokyo.
Greetings.
Nice. Mom says we're in here. Actually says we in here. It's all happening, says Josh Tanberg. Tony London is on. Chris Prescott is on. Todd Roy is on. Paul Matulovich.
Hey, mate.
Benjamin. Greg Ludgate. Mom again says so British. Well, not entirely.
No.
We have at least one Australian.
It's a pretty British Aussie sandwich.
Tim Halligan. Chris is noticeably quieter than Dan or Mick. That's because he doesn't shout as much.
I'll speak up.
Yeah, there you go. See, he's just too polite to shout. Actually, the audio has already got compressed, I can see. Sorry, no production chat. Jake, can you turn up number 2 on the thing just a little bit? It should give us more output down that one.
There we go.
Embody
Lovely.
the spirit of Brian Blessed for the rest of the show.
Buzz Crumhunger. We will say thank you kindly to BV
Yes.
for adjudicating.
Yep.
Refereeing.
2-0.
Yeah. Scott Wallace is straight in with a question for Chris. He says, are the humbucker Rev Stars too dark sounding for you?
I've not played one in a little while, actually. From memory, no. I was quite impressed with them. I think the humbucker Rev Stars, I think, are the Element, the kind of lower, kind of entry-level ones. And I remember actually being quite impressed by there being quite a lot of clarity and kind of sparkle in there. Typically, I think humbuckers these days are a little bit darker than I like. I think people... more mid-rangey. There's kind of like a mid-range kind of thing in... kind of cloaking, kind of mid-range thing going on in a lot of modern humbuckers, which I don't particularly like, having been spoiled a little bit with access to all these kind of cool paths and pattern numbers.
Yeah.
But from memory, no, it didn't leap out as like too dark. You know.
You just like the P90 thing?
Yeah, I love P90s.
Yeah.
It's become home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Angus McLean says, not sure if it's turned off, but I can't super chat. Yeah, we turned them off because we've got too many in. We have enough in to answer before the end of the show.
Indeed.
So, Angus, they are turned off. Sorry if you missed out, mate. Greg Ludgate wants to know, will we see the Thorpy Electric Lightning in a Friday show?
Yes, we will.
Part of the reason Chris is here, because he walked us through it. But yes, we do have one, and we will do a comparison show in due course.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Chris.
Yes,
Thank
mate.
you.
It's awesome.
Oh,
really pleased for you.
Thank you very much. Anyway, thank you.
And to Thorpy and to all involved. It's a triumph.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, there's a new Thorpy pedal out, which doesn't have Chris's name on it, but the box does.
The boss does.
Designed in conjunction with Chris, the Electric Lightning dual overdrive pedal, part of which contains a vacuum tube.
Best kind of tube.
The vacuum one. Yeah.
All the best things happen in a vacuum, don't they?
It's rather lovely. It's got a boost.
Give us a good theme tune for it.
Okay. Um,
I think Hart will be in touch soon. I think.
So we probably should have put a warning up. Anyway, the electric lightning. There we are.
feels like
Nice gold.
what's up?
Couldn't see
Yeah.
that sort of bronzy, brassy gold on your pedal board there.
There's a lot of questions about the electric lightning element of it.
Right.
The wet water thing or whatever isn't all electric. It's an all lightning electric. It's an all jet, which kind of keen to continue on with Thorpy's kind of thing of military themed.
Yes, military
pedal names.
hardware.
So it's which does have a very tenuous connection to Wales in that it used to fly the Mac loop. So it used to
Yeah.
very briefly go through North Wales.
Oh, well.
Briefly and quickly, which is out best to see Wales. So
Just imagine, Dan, releasing
a joke.
releasing
Okay, Aldi.
what from above at 2,000 miles an hour. Yeah. What was the old gag? The best thing to come out of Wales?
Severn Bridge.
Yeah, there you go. The M4, wasn't it? Yeah. It's, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's an old gag. I'm not saying that. Interesting that someone's bringing out a pedal with a jet theme.
Ah,
Yeah. Imagine if
imagine
if someone else was doing that in the near future.
who would do such a thing.
Who would do such a thing?
We're off again.
Anyway, we should probably delve headlong into the super chats.
Barracuda, I always assumed was some metaphorical. I think it's literally just about a barracuda.
Yeah.
There we go. Anyway.
The
Well, you
fish, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
I saw one. I was diving in Australia,
Right.
and they're bloody terrifying. They're big and they're massive teeth. And
And they're the ones with that look a bit like a swordfish with the other
no, they're just like a big mackerel, like a really big
huge mackerel. So like really great on toast, as long as you can get a big enough bit of bread.
Indeed.
Okay, right. First in with the super chats this week then will be Plexico. Duncan, how are you?
G'day, mate.
Great to hear from you. He says, hi, DNM. Hi, DNM. Friday's video was audio-licious. Did you select digital effects, the Free the Tone delay and the CXM78, so as not to alter the Dumble voicing? Thanks and kudos.
Yes. So those two particular pedals have wonderful analog drive-through. They also have very high headroom, so they sat very nicely in the loop of the Dumble. So we could just dial in a bit of reverb and a little bit of delay to taste.
Yeah, it's a bit brutal without any reverb and delay. Also, lots of people were asking why we didn't use the Dumbleator. One, we don't have one. Two, on a tiny little cable run like that and with high quality modern pedals, it's not
fine.
as important as it would be in old school situations with other things. So,
Indeed.
yes.
What does Robin do for reverb? Does he play without reverb?
No, he has the Mad Professor reverb
Oh, right, yeah.
and everything straight in the front.
Fair one.
Because he's kind of stopped using the overdrive channel.
Oh, right, okay,
So
yeah.
pretty much.
So
But
I'm-
to be fair, he stopped using the Dumble. He's now using this little Walter
Walters,
thing,
yeah,
which
yeah.
sounds amazing. But
Yeah, he loves it.
he's sort of gravitated to a cleaner sound, away from that talk to your daughter type sound, which I'm
Yeah.
not ever sure he used for that long anyway.
yeah.
He seemed to move away from that pretty quickly.
It's weird how it became quite synonymous
Yeah,
with him
yeah,
for a
yeah.
brief period,
Yeah.
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 It's an awesome sound, though.
Yeah.
Such an awesome sound.
Okay, Matt McGrath has got a question about attenuators. Hi, Matt. He says, I had a question about a line voltage attenuator, the Dark Age by Nocturnal Amps. It reduces voltage by -5 volts or -12 volts AC. In your opinion, how important could that be for older tube amps before 1984 specifically?
So you're saying like a variac at the input of the voltage thing?
Let's have a look. Nocturnal Dark Age. Nocturnal, yes.
So so the problem that you've got. Let's see, if it's just
Sounds like a variac.
yeah, it sounds like a variac, right? It sounds like it's just reducing the voltage at the input. The problem that you've got with it, if it's just reducing the voltage,
Okay.
what's it doing?
Right, so something significant obviously happened in 1984.
Right.
Preserve amplifiers built before 1984.
Oh, okay.
So something obviously happened with mains voltage in the US or something like that, where
Right.
where it went higher or it became unregulated or something like that. So what it's doing is it's making sure your tube amp doesn't get any more than the
Okay.
relative amount of volts.
Sure.
Am I understanding that correctly? Manufactured to preserve amplifiers built before 1984, low voltage to vintage transformers
Okay.
will allow amplifiers to run at the intended voltage.
Okay.
So are we saying that old mains was less? The old mains was better, man. You know.
Yeah. Vintage mains.
Yeah.
There's a vintage mains dealer in London. They're silly expensive, but they do good mains.
I think we might have to get one of those, Matt. We are going to do a show on attenuators again to do the. Is it called the brown box? The thing.
So I didn't have it turned on, but I was in the vicinity of a brown box on Saturday night.
Okay.
They're very clever.
Yeah.
Very, very clever.
And there's a new one from Palmer out, so maybe we'll see if we can put our hands on one of those ones and answer that more fully, Matt.
I really like Palmer stuff. I think the stuff sounds brilliant. So the thing with the voltage, right? If you look at the back of your amplifier, the back of an old Fender amplifier, and you can change the input voltage. But a lot of them let me see if we've got this right, go up to 230 max. And because I think that was the European voltage as opposed to 240, which is here in Australia. And it changes the bias considerably. If you're running at 240, 230, you can, and people have for ages. But if you get an amplifier with the mains transformer that's designed to see 230 volts, and you actually give it 230 volts, the amp sounds different, substantially different.
That would completely stand to reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing about the brown box is it gives you consistent voltage. So if you're, at my friend's house, he was measuring 255 volts at his outlet.
No way.
Yep. And he's got a bunch of old stuff and brown box plugged in, and it's just getting 230. It's great. So no matter where you go,
there's something that I think Bottom Master started using as well. I can't remember for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's basically kind of like a brown box type thing. But I think
for lots of amplifiers.
Yeah, but it generates power as well. It's like a medical device.
Yes.
That has been kind of like repurposed by the guitar world.
It's the same thing when we interviewed Neil Finn. They've got the same thing there, but it'll run their entire backline for half hour if the power goes down.
Right. Okay.
It's really clever. They cost large amounts of fund vouchers, but they're very, very clever.
What's doing the PA in that scenario?
It's just a stage jam
just
at
battery.
that point.
Michael Giliberto. Hi, Michael. He says, I've got to leave and run an errand. I'll back later. Please take a question from the chat. Okay, we shall do so.
Oh, sorry. Apparently, thank you, Lelandberg says USA was 110 volts, but changed to 120 volts.
There we
go.
That would explain it. So it sounds like a good shout, the old thing that we were just talking about. Right, let's see if we've got a question for Chris in here somewhere.
Gordon has also verified that. Went from 117 to more like 120, 128. Thank you, buddy.
I think it was only the export models as well had the variable
switchable thing. Yeah.
Okay, so Nectarios Contoleon. Nectarios Contoleon says, Chris, you've moved on from Strats, but you do not seem willing to move on from single coils.
Yeah.
Please discuss.
Love P90s. Talking about it briefly earlier. I think they're probably on balance or at least my favourite pickup, probably the most versatile in terms of you still get that kind of girth and that roundness of a good kind of humbucker, but still the kind of definition, articulation and clarity all usual superlatives, I guess, of Strat single coils. I'm a big Les Paul fan. I think I like Les Pauls infinitely more than they like me. And I don't know whether that's
interesting.
I don't know whether that's a case of just not having found the right one yet.
Did Slash ever let you play his old Les Paul?
I've never played it actually. No.
Really?
He's
a crap friend then, mate.
Yeah.
I'd move him on.
Yeah, Slash.
So unthoughtful.
I'd be super intrigued to play his, like the one that obviously kind of used throughout guns that kind of like using when they broke was the Derrig replica. Be super intrigued to try that. But yeah, I don't know whether it's more than likely just having not found the right Les Paul, I guess, yet. But I do.
It does take a while.
Yeah.
It took me 4 years to find my Les Paul.
Oh, really? Okay.
At searching constantly.
Yeah.
And trying them all
I
out.
don't know whether I'm more of an SG guy. I don't know whether that's the realisation. Yeah. Thank you very much. There we go.
go.
That was easy. Yeah. So never see me again.
And he's off.
Yeah. At a very slow pace. I'm not built for speed. Yeah. This might be the answer. I love P90s. I love single coils. I think that's kind of more me.
Can I ask a related question? What about compression of P90s compared to Strat single coils?
Yeah, I guess inherently a little bit hotter. So bizarrely, that was a kind of decision with wanting to going with bigger amps, but not going for something so big as to then not be an element of kind of natural compression happening from the amps. That was where the super reverb suggestion came in. Of
Right.
Like, it's big, and it's loud, but it's still only 40 watts.
Yeah.
So if you start to push it will give a little bit, and you will get that kind of... I think after years of playing Strats and chasing that like super high headroom, kind of like we were kind of talking about earlier, can be a little bit sterile, which is fine if you're having a good night and everything's kind of going to plan. If you're not having a good night, it's the worst feeling in the world because you just feel like you're punching a wall. So having something with a little bit of give in it, but still kind of does that loud kind of amp on stage thing, that was the kind
Having
of
two of them.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. So yeah, that was the thinking there. But yeah, kind of come back around after a long time of kind of trying to move away from compression. Just realise, why am I making life so bloody difficult for myself? It does make life a little bit more helpful. So there's the Cali 76 on the board for like specific moments in the set, but apart from that, it's just relying on those and overdrives giving it a bit of kind of natural.
That's kind of what I
love.
meant. So the pickups push a bit more, and therefore there is a bit more give.
Yeah.
Whereas there's just endless from Strats.
From Strats. Yeah, totally.
Interesting. Okay, Eagle Ray Rob. Hi, Rob.
G'day, mate.
Great to have you on. He says, I just need to send a huge thank you to TPS. The Robin Ford and Dumble episodes filled me with joy that words can't describe. Us too.
Me too. Joy, sadness, delight, depression, elation, just cruelty.
All of the above. And he says, thank you, Mr. Buck. I'm digging my electric lightning. Well done. Big love and hugs.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Spike Mullings says, hi from East London. I'm celebrating trying out some Eastman 335 types, but buying a casino type.
Oh, nice.
No Q, please take one from the chat. Interested to hear others' tales of self-inflicted guitar bait and switch. Yeah, well, you're in the right place for that, aren't you? Let's be honest.
Would love a
Okay,
casino.
Ed has a question for Chris. He says, has he played any of your 2 rocks today? And if not, can we do a short video with him on some?
Do you know what? I've never had... There's some around here somewhere in there, yeah. I've never really had any kind of proper time spent with a 2-rock.
Have you not?
No. Apart from, honestly, yours, I think, is probably the only time I've ever really dug into a 2-rock. Briefly plugged in here. So yeah, I'd be intrigued to spend a little bit of time with them. Don't know why I've not gravitated more towards 2-rocks really, but
it could be, you know, what we were just saying about, or what you were just saying about the kind of headroom thing. It might be in some ways the opposite direction that you're
possibly
that you're going in. I have a horrible feeling you would absolutely love the Vintage Deluxe, the new one they've just released.
I've played that. I tell a lie. I have played that.
Did you like it?
Played my mate's Ed's. Yes, it was. Again, didn't spend a great deal of time with it. What was very cool about that was the versatility of like it did that kind of like brown face thing a little bit. But there was also the kind of like the headroom there if you wanted it. So yeah, that was cool. And the cab sounded particularly good as well, I thought.
Yeah, 3x10 has he got head all at 115?
3x10, yeah. Which is an odd kind of...
There's one there actually.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yes, an unusual.
The
kind of
3x10, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like I almost kind of don't include that in the 2-rock thing, I guess, because typically for me 2-rock, what I kind of associate with that is the kind of classic reverb or the signature stuff, the kind of bigger.
I think a lot of people just instantly think John Mayer, don't they?
Yeah.
For 2-rock, and it's maybe it was that for a long time, but it has widened considerably, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joe doesn't use 2-rock, does he?
Bonamassa, he has used them, and he's definitely got a backup or two.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, I remember seeing them in his rig at some point.
I mean, he just has to make do with 3 Dumbles, 2 high-power twins,
Hard
2
like
Silver Jubilees, and a rotating speaker.
Have you played his rig?
Oh man, like visceral. I've never felt a sound like that.
Yeah.
Trying to rearrange my internal organs. It was something else. It was not painful though. Really.
No, it's crazy.
Not comfortable either.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Not painful. But I think I probably would have got used to it. But it's coming through the monitor as well. It's got a monitor blasting it through, just in case that's not loud enough.
Yeah, it's 3 wedges around him.
Yeah. Like unreal. I wonder what is coming through the wedges in terms of like, is that mic sound coming through the edges, or through the wedges, or is that like because he used Palmer?
He does for a couple of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether that's more what's coming through, because nothing worse on this earth than the sound of mic'd guitar amps coming through wedges. I hate it. So, but I think I'd probably kind of get around that if you use like an aux box or something. Use a speaker emulation coming back through it. I think it'd be less direct and less kind of abrasive. But yeah, that sound of playing those 3 was unreal. Yeah.
So good.
Jade McRae, one of his backing singers, did a lot of BVs on our new record. And speaking to her about it, she's saying kind of like, imagine standing behind that night after night after night. She's like, for a period, they had 3 backing singers as well,
Right.
which kind of shifted her further over to actually being directly behind them.
Oh man, when I saw them, there was 2 backing singers, and they were just
killer.
flipping awesome, absolutely awesome.
Good. Okay, moving along. We get to. Sorry, Dan is a little bit unwell. Whatever I had, he now has. And he's been very unwell this week, actually.
Get a glass of water. 2 seconds.
Catherine and I managed to get it on an EasyJet flight back from Greece. And it's been going around the UK. They're calling it the 100-day cough.
Yay!
Yay!
Like the Bill Bailey joke about how many wars Britain was involved in during a period of time, was like, which is especially impressive, considering one of those was the 100 Years' War.
James Blessed. Hey James, great to hear from you, buddy. He says, a trio of thanks. Thanks for the gig at the Cavern. Awesome. Thanks for everything you do for the community. And thanks for having one of my favourite guitarists back on the show. Love you, Chris.
Oh, thank you very much.
From James Blessed. Good to hear from you, buddy. Joe Halliday is on from Hello Sailor.
Oh, g'day, mate.
He says, hey, Legends. No question this week, just a heartfelt thank you for the Tube Screamer episode.
Oh, bless you. Joe's coming to... Thank you, mate. Joe's coming to an experience day soon. I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Not least of which, he's done this amazing Trainwreck clone.
Oh,
He's
wow.
bringing in. I'm really keen to try.
Wicked. I've never played a Trainwreck. Ever
No.
played a Trainwreck, Chris?
Never have, actually.
No, because often when you say the D word,
That's the other ant that comes up.
somebody usually says, oh, you should play a Trainwreck.
Was it Ken Fisher?
Yes.
Is that his name? Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, he says that I contemporaneously watched it whilst rebuilding my pedal board. I can confirm my Tamura Mod TS808 was gleefully involved. I've so nearly bought one of those a couple of times. So Susumu Tamura, who designed the Tube Screamer, he does mods
Oh, does he?
that are available from Godlike Distributing, who are the people that used to do... Anyway, long story. But in the States, you can buy the Tamura mods. Bloody Tube Screamers. Jonah Livingston. Hi, Jonah. He says, great content lately, gents. Do you ever build your own pedals? I've now built about 40, and it's been an absolute blast, especially if you enjoy dusting off the soldering iron.
So I started building 20 years ago before getting into everything else. And it was really fun. The first pedal I ever built was a Phase 45 clone. And that was great. I called it Norbert.
Why?
Baby Dragon off Harry Potter. It was fun. And that sounded really good. And then I built a bunch of fuzzes and stuff, and it's a really great way to get into understanding what's going on. Yeah, and there's so man you can or like all of the specs, all of the schematics and everything is all out there, so you can within reason build anything you want. But yeah, it's a great thing to do. It's really, really fun. I'd like to do a show on it actually, because there's a bunch of really great kits that you can get relatively inexpensive, and then you can mess around for a weekend and end up with something that you might like or something that might not work, and you have no way of troubleshooting. So,
Ever built a pedal, Chris?
No, I don't have it. I'd like to do it. I'm not a practical man. My wife would attest to that much. So, I mean, I would be quite happy to build a pedal as long as I could buy it and someone else could assemble it for me, which probably defeats the point of it somewhat. So, I'd burn myself, and I don't know, it wouldn't work, so there probably wouldn't be a great deal of point in it, really. But I'd be intrigued. In theory, I like that kind of hands-on.
Yeah.
But just pay someone else to do it.
I had to do some weeding this weekend. And I always get very grumpy.
Reading or weeding?
Weeding.
Oh, right, okay.
I always get really grumpy about any sort of gardening because the futility of it is beyond my comprehension.
I apply the same logic to washing my car.
Yeah.
There you
go.
It's just going to get dirty again.
Exactly. So there's literally no point. And when you pull the weeds out, they come back. So I'd be much more in favour of using some kind of glyphosate, which of course we should all be completely against because it's terrible for the environment, watercourses and all that.
Right.
And I would relate the futility of weeding to the futility of building pedals, for me. Regard.
Oh yeah, I mean totally.
I mean, in terms of how much spare time do you have,
fun.
Dan?
Yeah, I like.
Any spare time?
No. I have negative
spare
time.
Me too. Which also brings the question: what the hell were you doing weeding? But that's middle age. That's just middle age.
Moon says, "Weed is legal in the UK?" Question mark.
It's not, unfortunately, not like California, which is so weird. Walking up and down the streets at Nam and somebody smoking a joint. It's still weird. Anyway, Todd Roy says,
stop them from smoking it here. I just got to mention that.
Yeah.
What's that?
Doesn't stop people from smoking it here.
Oh no. Especially if you go to the any sort of market town in the UK on any point in any given day.
Mm-hmm.
You will smell such a smell. Todd Roy says, after bugging you guys for years to get Robin Ford on the show, it surpassed my expectations. Thank you.
Oh, bless you, mate. Thank you.
It was an incredible episode.
Oh, thank
2
you, man.
episodes.
And Funky Bass UK says, Chris got a shout out from Slash, apparently, in a recent interview with Ola England.
Yeah, he said...
Yeah, what an arsehole. I did know that, and it was my nan, my 84-year-old grandmother, who alerted me to the fact. So, cheers, Nan.
I love that your nan's watching an interview with Slash.
Yeah.
I know,
Not you. It's like...
My nan read
Does she
Slash's
call him Slash?
autobiography, and I shudder to think. I can remember what's entailed in the first couple of pages on Slash's autobiography.
Yeah.
So I shudder to think of that. But bless her, my grandmother alerted me to that fact. So that was very cool. Slash is lovely, and has zero need to be giving me shouts outs or kind of repost this stuff on Instagram or whatever whatever he does. He's sweetheart.
That's awesome, man.
Jamal Hill Richardson Albini is on, and of course we should mention the passing of Steve Albini,
Oh, man.
who died this week. May you rest in peace, Steve Albini. With thanks for all the amazing work.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a good outpouring of love when somebody goes, but it was particularly heartfelt for him, I thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Jamal, I didn't mean to bring you down your question. Jamal Hill Richardson Albini says, no question, just a pint on me at the Troubadour for Cardinal Black, if they're willing. Please give my cue to the chat.
Thank you very much. Our singer will definitely take you up on that one.
But yes, there's another question here for you, Chris, that was asking, what is your favourite solo, not of yours, and of yours?
Oh, that's a very good question. Solo, That's a great question. Favorite? I'll start with the one I can probably answer. The favorite solo for me to do live, I guess, is probably. I like the ones joking about the danger earlier. I like the ones where it's always on the precipice of the wheels falling off.
Right.
I like the kind of. I genuinely like the
Welcome
kind
to that pedal show.
of. Yeah. I like the kind of slight air of panic involved in that because it keeps me honest. Probably Warm Love, I guess. There's a kind of fairly
cool.
long solo at the end of that, but still with a little kind of motif to come back to, I guess. That kind of keeps me grounded. If I do get a little bit lost, I know I can kind of find my way back to that. So Warm Love is probably the answer for the one of mine, at least in the current set of songs people will know, not referencing stuff on the second album yet. Of other people's, that's a great shout. I'm doing a guitar breaks thing in Italy in June, and Ian asked me the other day, she's like, pick out a couple of your favourite solos, or solos that have found like particularly influential in your playing. And there's a Slash solo on one of his, I think it was the first solo album he did, Slash's Snake Pit, on a track called Back and Forth Again, which is an amazing song, really brilliant song. And the solo on that, like, if anyone wants to kind of like look at the kind of like little inflections, a lot of the little kind of inflections and runs I do, go to that solo. It was so much choice contained in that. Yeah, it's just a brilliant solo. It's brilliantly structured, brilliantly phrased, kind of, yeah. For someone who is as iconic and as famous as Slash is, I think he's still kind of underrated in some respects,
right,
in regard to kind of structure and solos, and just his phrasing and his sense of melody and time and everything else, you know. And that solo Back and Forth Again was a big one. So
that was from Weekend Warrior. Thank you, Tiger. I remember listening to Paradise City for the first time.
Yeah.
And the outro solo on the outro is just outrageous.
Just how young he was when he was doing that as well. So that was 1987. He'd been like 22.
Wow.
Wild. Wow. I remember reading about that solo. Apparently that was the source of like great frustration. There were innumerable attempts at doing that with different, like in one session they kind of set about trying to nail it, could not get it. And Mike Klink, the producer, was like, right, cut it, leave it, we're not doing it. Come back in tomorrow. Came back in the next day, did it in like one take, first take of the day. Like, oh, there we go, boom. So yeah, stuff like that just seeped into my consciousness of like just the way I kind of do things. If I am struggling, don't keep banging your head against the wall trying to get it. Just take a back step and go, cool, do it tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
You know, kind of come at it fresh. There's a lot to be said for that.
Steve Mass. Hello, Steve.
G'day, mate.
Good to hear from you. He says, here's a few bucks towards your Dumble. Good to see and hear Robin Ford. He seems very human in the best way, but maybe also connected to something more. Yeah.
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 It's just music. He's so... he really cares, like of every aspect of it.
He lives it.
He lives his craft. It's called living your craft, Robin. Yeah,
there we are.
Beautiful.
Square Wave Symphonies. Alex.
G'day, mate.
Alex came to an experience day a couple of weeks back. He says, hey Legends, just wanted to say thank you for the wonderful experience day. I had a wonderful time and made some beautiful memories. I just hope I didn't annoy you too much. Are you kidding? We had a great time. He said, I'll gladly gift my question to someone in the chat. Much love from Alex. I hope you didn't get sick, Alex, because that was when my sickness started raging, was on the experience day. Andy Cooper says, mixed confused face at the mention of Harry Potter. Yeah, literally no idea, sorry.
I still didn't get the relevance to a baby dragon to a phaser. Was there any?
No, I called my phaser Norbert.
Yeah.
It's a little orange fiery thing, and it was and that's what
Hagrid, right?
Hagrid had named his little dragon,
his little Dumble.
Norbert.
Hagrid is little Dumble.
Oh, hey, little fella.
Look out for the upcoming Norbert drive soon.
Yeah.
Right. So Garrett Rodman. Hi, Garrett. He says, if you had to build a pedal board of pedals using only two brands, and we're going to exclude Keeley and Thorpy, because hopefully should be obvious. And I think in the spirit of that, we should exclude Jam as well.
Okay.
Because those are the relationships we have. What two brands would you choose? So you've got to build a board. You can pick any two brands. What are you choosing?
Analog Man, Electro Harmonics. It was me.
That was quick. Analog Man, Boss.
Very good.
Interesting.
Boss is a good shout, actually.
Yeah. Get everything there, can't you?
I'm just trying to think what's on my board. Analog Man, and free the tone.
There you go.
Never played any through the tone stuff.
So there we go. It's interesting that all three of us would choose Analog Man. I think that says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But seeing as you didn't ask, my two actual answers would be Thorpy and Jam, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be... Oh, this is going to take some thinking.
Oh,
CXM.
MXR, says Gordon.
Sorry.
Chase Bliss.
Chase Bliss.
I know. I was going hard that way, actually.
Chase Bliss and Analog Man.
Actually, Empress would be up there for me,
Yes.
too.
This
Sorry,
stuff is so
we
good.
digress. James Dalgleish. Hi, James. James
James.
also came to an Experience Day. He says, hi, DNM. Thanks for the amazing hospitality at the April Experience Day. Sorry for my playing being terrible. Please never say that, James. Please never say that. We're all on the same path. Some of us are further along, maybe, and some other people are way ahead. But it's the same path, and I think we've all got respect for everyone, no matter where you are on that path. So please never apologise for that. And he says, I was incredibly nervous. I want to say thanks to all three of you. Best day ever. P.S. Hoped you liked the whiskey.
I think we're going to enjoy a snifter of whiskey this evening.
Yes, we haven't actually had any yet, not least because the illness took hold in a big way. We haven't actually seen each other since that, apart from the gigs, have we?
Whiskey will sort you right out.
Yeah.
Wood has it you're more of an Aperol Spritz kind of man. I've given up paying Dan for anything. Anything Dan does for me now, I just pay him an Aperol Spritz.
I'd like an Aperol Spritz. It reminds me of Rome in the afternoons as the sun hits the buildings. I remember, because actually last time I was really ill, it was like 20 years ago, and I was at one of my wife's friends' houses in Ireland, and she said, I'll make you something that'll fix you right up. She made me a thing called a hot toddy.
Right, yeah.
And I'm sure it was just warm whiskey and petrol. and I don't know if it fixed me up because I couldn't.
But you had bigger things to worry about then.
My trajectory was completely different from that point on. But yeah, so I'm going to see if the whiskey adds any medicinal flavouring to the
so throughout my experience with the illness, I did walk the dog every day, but in so doing, I would take a flask of hot toddy with me.
So what are you calling a hot toddy?
It would be whiskey.
Yes.
Honey.
Yes.
Ginger.
Yes.
Lemon. Hot water.
Oh, is that it?
But I would add a green tea bag to mine as well.
Okay.
Which is probably some sort of, you should never do this.
Keep it regular.
Sounds like breakfast.
Yeah. And that was my little sippy drink, walking the dog around. Sick as a dog.
Drunk. Walking the dog. Drunk as a...
Off my head on hot toddy.
Brilliant.
Yeah. In fact, I used our... where we take Rosie to do scent training, he gave us a bottle of Damson whiskey for Christmas. So I was drinking that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's information nobody needed. Tim Lurch is on. Hello, Tim.
G'day, mate.
Great to hear from you, buddy. He says, I've got a question for Chris. Do you have any trouble keeping your right-hand fingertips in shape? Any care or conditioning tips? I love your playing, feel and sound.
Oh, thank you.
Here we go. Show some things you do with your right hand.
He's saying right-hand fingertips.
Right-hand fingertips.
Yep.
Interestingly, not left.
Ironically, no, until quite recently. So, Friday Fretworks last week, the first clip on that was me playing, speaking about Les Pauls earlier and having not kind of maybe found the right one yet. I've got a 1980 Greco Super Reel, which I can't quite decide whether it seems to want 10s or 11s on it.
Okay.
10s feel a little bit kind of
slinky.
11s feel better, but just want to rip my fingers to shreds. I don't really struggle with that. But I did a couple of takes of the first solo and I started noticing getting a blister, which thankfully is gone now, on my index finger on my right hand, just from, kind of...
Because you really dig in with your right hand.
Heavy-handed is the way of... I mean, I've got, actually, no way of showing that particularly. A couple of blisters on that hand at the minute, but, it's so rare that I don't know where they've come from actually, but like I'd never get any kind of pain in that respect really, unless I do an insane amount of playing. Like one of the days we were tracking the album was like a guitar day. That was a little bit painful by the end of the day. It just gets that kind of like slightly cheese wire kind of sensation on your fingers where it just feels a little bit hot. That's not particularly pleasant, but more often than not, you know, with kind of touring or any of that kind of stuff, I don't really have any kind of struggles. The only time I will struggle is if I'm doing just something excessively. Like, I just could not for the life of me get the take for the solo on the start of Friday Fretworks last week, so it probably took about 15 takes or something excessive, where by the end of that, it was just like, that's just giving me a little bit of jip now. But for the most part, not really. But it's a kind of mixture between the nail for the sharper stuff and the
flesh
for the kind of softer stuff. But it alternates. I very rarely use my index finger because the nail is crap and snaps like a wet Kit Kat at the first sign of trouble. So
like
it's
what?
A wet Kit Kat. Or are they in your neck of the woods? They got a different name in Australia?
A wet Kit Kat.
Kit Kat.
Kit Kat.
Kit Kat. Oh, sorry. Right, sorry.
So yeah, it's primarily kind of
Man.
it's kind of that finger, the flesh and the nail on my middle finger, and the flesh and the nail on my thumb.
Right.
Index finger doesn't really get involved unless it's kind of like well out of the way of the nail. Oh, I ruined it. I'll have it
You
now.
spooned it.
It's broken
Yeah,
now, I'll have
broke it. You got to take it.
Oh, dead man's toenails. I love and hate that in equal measure. The shrunken tuners on Gibsons. It's the coolest thing in the world. And also just like, no thank you.
Dead man's toenails.
Yeah.
When do you use a pick and when do you use your fingers?
Oh, interchangeably. I wish I knew. It's not a conscious thing particularly. Pick, if I try to break it down, pick for more speed and accuracy. Fingers for more kind of like dynamics, I guess.
Okay.
Pick generally is a little bit less dynamic in that it's always going to sound like a bit of plastic, I guess, ultimately. But fingers you can be a little bit more kind of touch responsive with. But there's a lot of, like, I haven't got a pick in my hand at the moment, so I can't, but kind of like, something like I want to try and faster kind of, all that kind of stuff relative to like, all that kind of more slashy stuff that's still kind of hanging around in my playing. I can't do that with. Or not as well anyway, so a bit clunky and a bit cumbersome. So, pick for faster stuff and more aggressive stuff. Fingers for the other stuff. So
That's enough out of you.
Yeah, thank you. Breaking it.
JP Delaney wants to know why don't we use amps during the live shows?
We did try that at one point. The problem is all you will hear is distorted mics, so I have to switch from microphones to the mics, the close mics, and then maybe something.
We need
in
something
the room, and it's like someone's got to switch between them.
Yeah,
something we'd like to do, but it's a thing.
And people come here to chat, so it's specifically a chat thing. But we have talked about doing more live shows with guitar in, and we keep talking about it, and we keep talking about it. We were about to do it, then the internet broke, so we were nervous that it would not work. So maybe we'll come back to it. It would be. I agree with you. It would be fun.
It'd be really fun.
Yeah,
but it's just a. Mick has so much to deal with, and that just throws another massive dynamic element into the mix, and it's like...
Yeah. Whit Anderson says, "Holy harmonics, Batman. Those are some glorious sounds coming from the Dumble, especially with the 345. I'm very curious about the cabinet. I think of cabs more akin to instruments than electronics. It looks fun." From Woo.
Yeah, the cab was amazing.
Pretty astonishing sounding cab. Tell you what amazed me. So Robin's got this 212 Dumble cab with the G1265s in.
Yeah.
And I remember taking it out the flight case going, wow, that must be made of pine.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's so light. But I had a really good scrape around in there, and it's.
I took some drill core samples and stuff.
Well, where the handle's screwed in and where the jack is screwed in and stuff, you can see that it is ply. But maybe the baffle's pine or something. It just doesn't seem heavy enough to be ply. Anyway, it's an astonishing sound.
Done a rabbit hole now of like better quality plywood than others.
Yeah.
Oh,
tone ply.
Oh, but stuff like mahogany ply exists.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's
really?
not always birch ply.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying that's what it is, but it did seem preposterously light for a.
I'm listening to a Bill Bryson book at the minute, The History of Private Life or something it's called. And it's all about him kind of like going through the home, talking about the history of like various rooms and what's entailed in that. I love Bill Bryson. And he's talking about a species of mahogany in it that was like associated with, is it Thomas Chippendale, the
Furniture maker.
Yeah, furniture maker. And there was a species of, they were saying obviously no denying kind of like furniture makers of that era having incredible talent, but they said one thing they had at their disposal, which we don't have today, is basically it was put into extinction by furniture makers, was a species of mahogany. I can't now remember the name of it, but he said
Someone will
just,
tell us in the
it was
chat.
incredibly workable, basically. So you do kind of incredibly intricate things with it, but it still had stability that you could use for chairs and stuff like that. So,
And some of that mahogany was really, really light as well. There's Spanish cedar, which, not to be confused with other types of cedar, which looks a lot like mahogany. That's super light as well. So, I mean, I don't know. It might just be good old ply, of course.
I've sat on some incredibly resonant chairs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, it did sound amazing. I will freely admit to spending a couple of days with the Dumble and plugging it into all kinds of cabinets and amps for my own gratification, and being quite surprised by that cabinet.
What speakers are in there?
G1265s.
Right.
But they've been replaced. They're not like special. They're not like. There's quite a few people looking at the pictures of the back going, "Oh my god, what? Just reissue JJs?" It's like, yeah, a bit like the Klon, you know. Magic diodes notwithstanding, the genius of that thing is not necessarily in the components.
No,
it's in the bloody circuit.
Yeah. So clever.
He said controversially.
65s are like Marshall, typically kind of. There's a lot of Marshall combos, isn't there, with G1265s?
Yeah, so it's a medium magnet.
Yeah.
And I think they ended up in the 412s in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my JCM 800 is G1265s.
Could be, yeah.
And that sounds great.
Yeah, it's but it's like any great artist, once you start breaking it apart,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense in its individual form. It makes sense when it becomes a whole.
Yeah.
You know, like me and Dan playing Robin's settings with the Zen Drive. Eek.
Yeah.
Horrific. But he plays it, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carl Longbottom is on. Hello, Carl.
G'day, mate.
It was great to see you at the Cavern Club, mate.
Yes, indeed.
He says, oh yeah, great to see you all at the Cavern Club. Brilliant night. Andy is a true gent and a great singer, as is Jake.
Yes.
And fantastic to meet Catherine. Dan for Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh,
we
so
did
fun.
No One
No One
Knows.
Knows.
Oh, amazing.
Drop,
Tune in,
drop,
is it?
drop C.
Yeah.
Drop C.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you gotta. Yeah, so it's played there, but it
Yeah,
sounds
but
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
It makes the sound of the track, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Then
And that bass
Yeah.
break as well.
Yeah, yeah.
so good.
Paddy nailed that. Fender Jeff is on. He says, "Hi Mick, been watching your Strat vlogs. Thanks for the gold mine of info. What are your current thoughts on RWRP? That is reverse wound, reverse polarity, which is what gives you hum cancelling in positions 2 and 4. He says, yay or nay? Oh God. I don't want it on my vintage Strats because they didn't have it. But it is an absolute giant pain in the arse when you're recording or sat in here and you get the hum, because one of the great things about a Strat, obviously, that's got RWRP, you can just flip to 2 or 4 and all the hum goes away. And for that, it's awesome. It's also awesome, I think, for the very scoopy, really Strat kind of sounds. Even though the vintage ones didn't have it, I think you get that sort of modern version of the really, really Strat sound.
Strat.
Did you ever delve into that, Chris?
No, I know. I still have a set of Signature Radio Shop pickups with my name attached to them. I know they offer those in a reverse one, reverse polarity kind of configuration. Mine never had it, again, because I guess vintage correct, even though it wasn't in a vintage guitar, they were my bloody Highway 1, but I quite like the idea of it being just, you know, kind of as it would have been in theory back in the kind of pre-CBS days. But yeah, no, never really delved into it. But hum and stuff like that, I get a lot of questions about, like, how do you manage the hum with P90s? And it's like, just do.
Just turn it
you
up.
ride the volume control,
Yeah.
and the moment the kind of last chord dies out, if you've got a load of gain on, just whack your volume down and it goes away. It's miraculous.
Dan was laughing earlier. He was sat there as we were setting up, and this orientation for the guitar, as he is sat currently, is literally the worst position for hum in this room. And the best position is
here,
surprise, surprise, 90 degrees.
facing
90 degrees to it.
facing there.
And the single coil hum pretty much goes away when you're facing that way.
It's silent. It's like, okay,
Someone's telling you
let's just
something.
put the cameras over here.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm even as a massive Strat fan, I very rarely use positions 2 and 4.
Right.
Certainly live, because it just I can't hear it. So I'm going to say 70% of the time on the bridge pickup.
Mm.
30% of the time on
that's
the neck pickup, and maybe the middle pickup sometimes, and 2 and 4 hardly ever. So it's not a sound that I really rely on, but when I do use 2 and 4, I want it to be fat, and it's not fat if you've got RWRP.
Yeah.
It gets thin and it gets scoopy, which of course is the sound that everyone loves.
Yeah.
So if you want big dippers, the John Mayer, are they reverse round?
I was about to say, if you want,
they are very stratty.
If you want all right. So John's original Strats wouldn't have had it, but I'm pretty sure his later ones would have done. Jake, do you know?
No, I don't know.
But it seems to me that for the Mayer sound, or at least the 2 and 4 Mayer sounds, you want RWRP.
Yeah.
That was what I always struggled with. I had a John Mayer signature Strat for a while. I struggled with 2 and 4 on that because he would just disappear. The moment you turned it on, it would sound great in isolation.
Yeah.
And then the moment you put that on within the context of a band, you're just like, I just can't hear myself anymore.
Yeah. Did you have the one with the competition stripe on it?
No, the 3-tone sunburst.
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Still got it actually. Probably get rid
I
of that.
think those are.
Trevor Hart.
Yeah. Mine are in my John Mayer Strat. They are, but yeah.
Trevor Hart says, I used to enjoy making mixtapes, but I never had Hot for Teacher and Hard Day's Night in quick succession. Great gig in Leicester, gents. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for coming out.
We actually did Hot for Teacher.
Yep.
Well, should I say
Andy did Hot for Teacher.
Timmins did Hot for
We
Teacher. and
flapped around the peripheral.
Honestly, man, Dougie really
Nailed
learned the drum parts.
Amazing. That's cool. That's a
It
hard
was
one.
so good. He came on at the Cavern. Oh, so basically, we were backstage, and he'd done 2 sets back to back with us and Andy, and like we're going for the encore, and he just went, he didn't have a drink, nothing. He's just sweating, so he runs out in front of the Cavern. He just does this massive bow, and everyone goes nuts. Paddy had filmed it and has turned it into this GIF,
Right.
and it's the most beautiful thing ever. Anyway, he just jumps on the kit and just launches into Hot for Teacher. It's absolutely brilliant.
Such a cool drum part.
He did so well.
David Evans, presumably not that Dave Evans, but anyway, David Evans says, greetings from Los Angeles. Mick and Dan are more Hobbit-like, but Chris is Elven. Discuss.
Pointy ears as well.
Yeah, complexion like a baby goldfish.
Yeah. 5 Ed. We've done them all today. I genuinely, joking aside, we talked about it earlier, I don't know why I'm so pale, because I spend a lot of time outside. None of it doing any kind of work, but admittedly, but just, I don't know, I go outside, I don't know why I'm...
Do you burn if you go in the sun?
Well, I don't spend enough
Or do you turn
time...
to ash?
Yeah, just incinerate. I don't spend enough time in the sun. The last 2 days have been hell for me. I'm thrilled it's cold again. Absolutely thrilled. It'd be, I don't know, it'd be autumn all year round if I had my way. If I can wear a long coat, I'm a happy man. So, I don't know. I don't know. I used to tan beautifully when I was a kid. You look at photos of me when I was a kid, like going on holiday in the summer, and I'm like this beautiful golden brown complexion. And then the older I get, I'm like Casper. I don't know.
It's a good name for your solo album.
I know. You put me against Jake's t-shirt and I would disappear. I could just see some eyes.
Carl Longbottom also adds, he says, this Sunday, okay, so anyone, if you're in the northwest of England or can get to the northwest of England in the vicinity of Haydock Park, it's the Northwest Guitar Show with some great live music with, among others, the brilliant Aziz Ibrahim.
Oh man, Aziz is amazing.
Nice.
player.
So this coming weekend, Haydock Park, the Northwest Guitar Show, if any of you can get there. Thank you, Carl, for the reminder. Hello to Aziz, if you ever watch this, mate.
Yeah.
Airfire, Ed. Hello, Ed.
G'day, mate.
He says, I'm working on another Stratocaster. This time a thin line tally type. Current dilemma, humbucker in the neck or P90. It will be vintage style, underwound at least. If you were in my spot, what would you do?
I put a P90 in there.
I think we know what Mr. Buck would do.
Yeah, P90. Although I probably would have gone humbucker actually there for Keith vibes. But yeah, probably from a sound perspective as opposed to kind of cool perspective, P90.
I'll tell you what would be a good shout there. A nice halfway house is a Firebird neck pickup.
Firebird's great pickups.
Yeah. That's a nice, but it's a compromise between the two, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna complicate matters even further and say a Filtertron,
That's very good.
a Gretsch type pickup.
Yep, that's good.
But yeah, I'd go P90. I think of those two options, Ed. Just think about the hum thing. If you're going to be in close proximity, computer screen or lights and stuff, P90 can be a pain. But a humbucker obviously will not be so much of a pain in that respect.
Have you ever faffed about with gold foils to any great extent?
Yes.
Like 'em?
Yes.
They're cool, aren't they? They're like acoustic pickups almost.
Yeah.
There's like snap and kind of like high-end thing going on.
I think they vary greatly.
Yeah, I would imagine so,
I've got a pair of Lola's gold foil somewhere that I'm
Oh, okay, there.
desperate to put in a guitar somewhere, and I never quite get around to it.
I did a video about them a couple of years ago. I did a load of research.
Did you?
And it's a flaming nightmare because there's no consistency.
Yeah.
There was no kind of like archetypal gold foil that everything else is based around. It's like fridge magnets. It's like a rubberized ferrite magnet or whatever. It's kind of
Right.
like fridge magnet material. And the flaming nightmare to try and actually conclusively say this is what a gold foil is, because like you said, they were all so different because I guess
Really
they were
different.
cheaply produced.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like budget Japanese made stuff, wasn't it? But yeah, they're great. Really cool.
We were at NAMM many years ago. Just trying to find the guitar. I think it was a Ronin guitar.
The one we played on the Keeley stand.
Yes.
That was a really
Best. Well, I still think about that guitar.
Isn't it funny when you think about what we do in our lives, that a guitar that you played once for 20 minutes on one day would remain in your memory?
Yep. That was. I think it was.
Because normally it would be a burst or something, wouldn't it? If you
Yeah.
were going to remember it.
Yeah.
It was
something
one of
like,
those, wasn't
It's
it?
one of those. One of
Yeah.
those things.
Ronin, Ronin.
Right.
And I still think about it. And it had gold foil, so it might even be that one. Oh, yeah.
Actually, Ed bought a guitar off me. He bought the Supro, which had the gold foil in it,
Right.
which I semi-regret selling, but I had to sell it because I needed the money. But
Was that a new one or an old one?
it was a new Supro, but it was
Right,
the
okay.
James Port, the single.
Right, yeah.
And it was a really cool guitar. I played completely differently whenever I picked it up.
Yeah, it was
But
very cool.
it was one of the many that went into Fund 345.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yes. Scott Tucker. Hello, Scott. He says, new guitar day. Coincidentally enough, a Yamaha Revstar Gold Top with P90s.
Ah,
Super
He
cool.
says, I should be playing like Mr. Buck in no time. He says, cheers, I will yield my question to a brother or sister in the chat. In which case,
okay, Wadey 1960 CS says, when will Yamaha quit messing about and release a Chris Buck signature Revstar?
No comment.
No comment.
there we are.
There you go. You heard it here. You had nothing here.
You hear nothing.
You
yeah.
heard nothing here. David Burke says, typical TPS. Someone asks for 2 options, 3 additional options. I'll reply, David, it was great to see you at the cavern as well, buddy.
Yes, mate. Yeah, thank you so much for coming up. I really glad to see you.
Lipsticks, says Peter Hall. Again, one day I'll have a Strat with lipsticks in it.
Never played any.
Well, yeah, well,
Because
Teach
Stevie
me.
Ray Vaughan did.
I know that he did.
So, end of conversation.
Okay, that'll do.
Yeah. Dan Electro pickups. Lipstick. They were in lipstick
They
tubes.
were literally lipstick tubes, weren't they?
Okay,
So in the
but what sort of pickups are they though?
Single coils.
Who cares?
Just,
Okay,
it's irrelevant.
you can, while you're playing the guitar with your teeth, you can apply your.
that would have been awesome. That would have been an awesome gag.
Actual lipstick
Yeah,
pickups. They're
brilliant.
single coils, aren't they? They must be, because
Yeah.
then you see them together as humbuckers, so they must be single coils. Tim Lurch says, in my experience, a real gold foil doesn't like to be turned down. and also doesn't like fuzz.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Interesting.
interesting.
Yes.
Oh,
Right.
that's interesting. Psionic Audio. Thanks for joining us, mate. It says a lot of people get their concept of the gold foil sound from old guitars that had 50k volume pots, which is a huge load on those weak single coils. You can make a Strat gold foil like with a bigger load. That's very interesting.
That is really interesting. Okay, I see a gold foil. Suitably late because they were trendy about They were trendy about 3 years ago. So
gold foily. Sorry, gold finger anyway.
I got it, mate.
No,
No
one gets me.
Didn't require the expansion. Jeff Harper says, "What are your thoughts on Quilter Aviator that has inputs for black, blonde, and tweed, i.e., different types of Fender amps, for example?" I'm putting the last bit in. I'm just assuming that's what it means. Never tried one, is the answer, Jeff. Sorry to say. Would be fair to say Dan and I aren't huge lovers of transistor amps in general, which hopefully doesn't come across as a disparaging comment because we know loads of people love them.
Yeah, they're great. It just depends on the job you're asking it to do. If you get a JC120 because you like that sound, there's nothing in the world that is going to give you that sound apart from a JC120. They're awesome.
Start at Paradise City.
It's
genuinely start
yeah,
at Paradise City.
Of course it is. Yeah, I was just thinking.
There you go. They also, if you, we have Steve Rothery coming on the show soon, and
amazing!
Yeah, and
that's cool.
That's a massive part of his
He came
sound.
to the Leicester gig.
He did.
Saw him at the Leicester gig.
Yeah, he's such a lovely guy, and so there, nothing disparaging about transistor amps at all. Some of them amazing, and some of them, like valve amps, have their own thing. It just depends if that's the thing you're after, and if it is, awesome.
I think Dan and I, and we'll include Chris in this, are in the lucky position of being able to play the real stuff very often. And maybe it's because I'm getting middle-aged and grumpy, but my level of acceptance for things that say they're something and are not is getting shorter.
Yeah.
It's like, just be your own thing. And the Dumble really nailed it on.
Yeah.
It really, really nailed it on for me. It's like, that's unique.
It really did sit out on its own, right?
To try and replicate it with something else is folly.
Yeah.
It's a bit like trying to sound like your favourite guitar player. It is a complete waste of time. You never will. So just sound like yourself. Is that a car alarm?
My ride's here.
Checking, now, of course, we're all inspired by our favourite guitar players, and we all want a bit of it, and we all want to go down the rabbit hole. For goodness' sake, I idolised Stevie Ray for years. No doubt you did a bit of that with Mr. Slash, did you?
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, for the longest time.
Yeah. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do it or that there's anything wrong with it, but there does come a point where you can just have the courage to be yourself, and I think that's where it is. That's where the enjoyment is.
I saw something interesting yesterday. Do you know Corey Congio, is it?
Yeah.
Put something up on his Instagram stories saying, like, kind of genuine question, why are people so obsessed with the idea of trying to sound like someone else? When obviously the aim, I guess, ultimately is to sound like yourself. And I get that. I think everyone, irrespective of how good they are, their level of genius, their whatever, I think everyone has started off,
of course,
trying to sound like someone else. You know? And if you end up sounding like yourself, wherever that is, it's more by accident than design. Because ultimately you are you, so you'll never be able to fully replicate someone else's. Yeah. But that, I had an interesting, again, clang. I had a chat with Slash via text about this a while ago. Because texted him off the back of the Glastonbury show. Just saying kind of like, oh, amazing, really enjoyed it kind of thing. And had a really nice text back off him saying, oh, thank you, that means a lot. Kind of like, I was just a bit worried about it because of the kind of televised element of it and everything else, And I know he's on In-Ears with Guns as well, which I think kind of he's not a massive fan of. And we had a kind of bit of a kind of back and forth. And I was saying he's the only player that it was more than a kind of sound thing with Slash. What I was trying to achieve by kind of like digging into everything about his playing, it was a kind of like a mindset I was trying to get into in terms of like just trying to interpret his decisions and why he would go to certain places and why he would do certain things at certain moments, and trying to understand that. And he's the only player I've ever done that. I've tried and made conscious effort to try and sound like other people in terms of tone, but I've never actually tried to embody someone else, you know, kind of like try and become that person. Just as well I became his mate, really. It would have been weird otherwise. It kind of like he's the only person I've ever done that with, you know. And I think everyone inevitably does that to a degree with someone at some point.
Yeah, you have to. Like, who says it here? Somebody puts it brilliantly. Moon says, when you start off, you haven't heard yourself, so how can you know how you sound? Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But you do become the amalgam in the end, and you have to, because on that fateful day, those of you who have experienced this will understand, and those of you who have yet to experience it can look forward to it. There will come a point in your playing life where you are connected and you are in a moment of non-thought, and you are playing. At that moment, you only sound like yourself. You can't possibly sound like anybody else. Yeah. And that's the goal. I mean, it's a bit esoteric to talk about it, but all great artists, all great players, him included, have that.
Yeah. And when you play stuff and practice stuff, you're playing stuff that even if you're playing someone else's song, learning someone else's solo, you're learning that because that's what you like. That's what you want to hear. And the stuff that you collect, you know, along the road is stuff that you like. And so you end up being this amalgamation of these things. And eventually that gets to a point where it's those ideas are enough to support your own thing, because you've learned a bunch of stuff that you have wanted to hear.
Gareth Johnson is on. Hello, Gareth.
G'day, mate.
He says, hi, chaps. Hope all is well. No Dumbles here yet, but I did accidentally buy a blonde Strat and a black telly on the way to the studio today. Recorded.
Just tripped over and oh heavens!
Have you seen that thing on Instagram?
It's perfect.
Recorded with both this afternoon. I still sound like me.
That's a good thing, mate. That's a good thing.
He
Gareth,
says,
you know Gareth?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, he's amazing.
Oh, you have to meet.
Honestly,
you
have to meet him.
He's the reason that all this happened.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Super inspiring. Mega creative.
He says apparently Slash has a love bomb, which is the pedal he makes.
Oh, brilliant!
Oh God, sorry Gareth, I've totally forgotten your partner's name. Who makes the pedal?
Slash using a Thorpy pedal, a Peacekeeper, I think, on his what's it called, lap steel rig. Adrian said that for the other day. I was like, that's cool.
Hang on, rewind. Slash has got a lap steel rig.
Yeah, have you not seen the videos of him playing lap steel recently? They're doing a cover
of country album.
Really?
Yeah. On the solo tours we did recently, they'll be doing Rocket Man, and he's playing lap steel on that.
That's so cool.
Really?
Yeah. And the Thorpy's on there. It's pretty cool.
Sean Jeremilatos says, so apparently I really enjoy my telly today, says Sean Jeremilatos. It's a love-hate thing at time. A few drives into a Therme analog delay and 2 Rock Studio SIG is brilliant. No question, just wanted to share a good day.
Yeah, that's great. Therme's really wonderful. I had
Chase Bliss.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're
I keep
so
meaning
clever.
to spend some time with the old tonal recall, because I've got big back into analog delay again. Is it darker sounding than the ARDX20?
Well, there's two. There's the blue knob one and the red knob one.
Yeah.
Red knob's a bit brighter. I think there's a mid-range that the red knob one has got that the ARDX20 doesn't have, but I think that leaves the ARDX20 to be a little bit brighter.
Okay.
I don't know, but it's very, very good.
Mike 2203, hey Mike.
G'day, mate.
He says, hi D&M, Donna and I had tickets to Fat Lil's, but we missed it due to me coming down with vertigo. Gutted.
Oh no.
Hope to see you next time. Keep rocking. My dad gets that, Mike, interestingly enough.
My wife gets it as well.
Does she?
Weird, isn't it? It's,
I'm there. I got it. That's a really satisfying solo to play.
Oh man, great song. When they came out with that, I was like, yes. It was, Yeah.
a track from that era. I don't know whether it might even be that album. Sometimes you can't make it on your own. Do you know that? That's an incredible song.
Right.
Such a good song.
Is it How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb?
It
was
might be on How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. If it's not, it's on an album around that kind of era.
We're talking about U2, of course, and the song Vertigo, if that wasn't immediately clear. So, has it been diagnosed as vertigo in your wife?
Yeah, it has, yeah. She knows what it is. It seems to be exacerbated by sleeping on her left side.
Because it's an ear thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a kind of... I don't know what it is. It's kind of like an alignment of your...
Yeah.
Whatever it is in your in a year.
Hello, Dad, if you're watching, by the way. Sorry I missed your call earlier. We were making a video with Chris. Apparently, sometimes it can get mystic, and the Meniere's can be the thing.
Similar symptoms. And
My cousin was diagnosed with Meniere's, and she was diagnosed with that when she was like 21 or something. And normally it's something that affects older men. But she got it as this young 22-year-old girl that would lay her out for like days. It's awful.
Not good.
Ryan Adams has it, doesn't he?
Ryan Adams?
Yeah,
that's what he has.
Yeah, he's quite a vocal kind of advocate for kind of Meniere's charities and stuff like that, and he really struggles with it. But yeah, like you said, similar symptoms, I think, isn't it?
I just get by with the 2. No.
Give it time, it'll land. What?
Yeah. Many years. Nick Brokenshire.
Yeah.
It's really bad, isn't it? Nick Brokenshire. Hello, Nick. He says, "Hey chaps, huge fan of the show. Have you ever delved into bands such as King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard,
Oh, you kidding?
who use microtonal guitars?"
Yeah. So, boy, oh boy.
He says, "Let me recommend the album Nonagon Infinity."
Yeah. So,
It genuinely sounds something I would hate, Nick. I'm sorry to say. but I will give
no,
it a go.
honestly, those guys, they will do one album that's like prog, and then one album that's like country, and then one album that's it's impossible to pigeonhole them. They are some of the most talented Aussie band. And I got in touch with them when I was out in Australia for Christmas, seeing if I could interview them, but they were away. But oh man alive, what absolutely astonishing. I was turned on to those guys by a guy that does some work for us from you introduced me to Ollie.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and he's a massive fan of them. Yeah, very, 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 very cool.
Speaking of Australians, do you like Teskey Brothers at all? You had much of those?
Don't know.
No?
I had no idea they were Australian.
Yeah. Bizarrely, I think they live over here at the moment. But yeah, they've obviously had a kind of bit of success the past couple of years, like kind of modern soul.
Yeah, it's exceptional.
Josh, his voice is kind of like a modern day Otis Redding kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
very, very close
Right.
to Otis Redding. But yeah, great band. But yeah, Australian. So there you go.
I had
they've
no idea.
They've been known to produce the odd legend from time to time. Very rarely, though.
He's not even the best drummer in AC/DC.
What? Sorry, that was a quote that was going around for the whole of the Andy Timmons
All right, okay.
tour and Cavern gigs. Anyway,
In jokes.
I know it's really bad. I'm very sorry. And Nick, I will give him a go. I'll give him a go. Hi, feet holders, says Tim Chandler.
Oh, very good. Thank you, sir.
He says 3 things. Chris, I play a Revstar thanks to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Dan, your lesson on intervals changed my life.
Oh, bless you.
And he says, and thanks to TPS, my favourite delay is a J Rocket Ape and a DDT.
There you
DD3T.
go. Oh, what a great idea.
Have you ever seen this, Chris?
No.
It's a kind of interesting idea. And it's
That
up
is
here
a
somewhere.
brilliant idea. Because
Hey,
I love
Pete,
that delay.
I
That
think-
preamp. Okay.
I've got a bad neck, so I turn like a canal bar.
Stands. I think it stands for Analog Preamp Experiment.
Right, okay.
And what you do is you put your delay in the loop of it with
Yeah.
one repeat.
Right.
And it then takes
Okay.
care of
That's
everything
cool.
else. So it turns I don't
Standard delay, isn't it?
I don't wish to call the DD3T a humdrum delay, but it turns sort of flat sounding, simple digital delay into something much more analog and interesting.
That's cool.
For those
That's
of you
really
who don't
cool.
know,
Such a great idea. And you can use it. You can use it just as a standard, like an EP3.
yeah, it's got a boost on it as
Yeah.
well.
And so you just kick that in as an EP3, or put your delay in the loop
Yeah.
of it, and it becomes an amazing.
I don't even know if they still make it, but
That's one of those ideas
great idea.
where you're like, that's a brilliant idea, and it probably won't catch on.
No,
Because
Yeah.
you're like, that's going to be such a hard sell for people who kind
quite
of like,
hard to explain and takes
Yeah.
up two pedal board spaces
Yeah,
once you've got your delay with it. But
great idea. So look at it. What
Sorry, mate.
sort of control have you? So what's that, like a degradation? Kind
That's
of
like the level,
Oh, right, okay.
and then that's the repeat. So you set the delay to have one repeat,
Yeah.
and that sets it back in the loop.
Right, yeah. Ah, mega.
Yeah, it's really great.
That's
really
very cool.
super, super clever.
Heavy little blighter.
I like J-Rocket stuff.
Yeah, they make such.
Actually,
good stuff.
they would be in that conversation we had earlier about
Mm-hmm.
one brand. Two brands. KJ Photo says, Jedi mind trick. TPS band will come to New York and play a gig. Cheers from the Big Apple. Well, that would be a
Never
big
say
day,
never.
wouldn't
Never say never.
it? Yeah, never say never. Thank you for the kind thought. Paul Matunovich is on. Hello, Paul. He says, evening, legs. Would love to see a Blues Breaker super show with Chris. Blues Breaker, probably great with the new signature pedal.
Yeah,
Congrats.
thank you. It does. If I do stack it with anything, funnily enough, it tends to be any one of the 15 variants of a blues breaker that I have. 50 Shades of Gain.
That would be a really good show to get an actual old blues breaker in, and get.
Clapton's
Well-
still around.
Yeah, hit him up. See if he can fit it in the back of his car,
Just on
Drop it
fire
off.
tonight.
and get you in, and we'll go through them. I'll just be in the corner, going for that.
Amp or pedal? No, we're talking.
Both,
Okay, yeah.
because I want to see. Okay, these blues breaker. Is that really getting on anyone else's nerves?
Yeah, massively so.
Great. It's
What
just
is
to
it,
make sure it's
Jake?
for me.
It's the building alarm opposite.
Okay.
Toned it out now. It's like the trains going past and the blues breakers. So often they go past. So often you won't even notice.
Notice. Yeah, so sorry if you can detect that on the audio. There is a building alarm going off.
Yeah, but I'd love to hear the amp, the pedals, and I'm assuming they're supposed to be voiced around the
You
amp.
think, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I think I've read about this. I'm a big blues breaker fan. I think it was literally that it was like kind of like a medium gain type
Oh,
thing. I don't
okay.
think and that was kind of what it evoked roughly.
Right.
I don't think it was particularly designed to sound like a blues breaker.
So in terms of blues breaker amps then, what is the definitive blues breaker amp tone? There's two I can think of.
Stepping out.
So Clapton. And the other one I would say, if it indeed was that, was whatever Gary Moore used on Still Got the Blues when he really boosted it.
That was what was it? It
Was that a blues breaker? I mean, there was one on the cover of the record. But
Yeah, I think. What was the pedal he used? It was one of the Marshall
Yeah.
pedal 90s pedal he used, wasn't
yeah,
it?
I think it was a blues breaker.
Was
it?
the
Oh, it was a governor, was
governor?
it?
It was a governor.
Jake says
wasn't
it was a governor.
But was that into a blues breaker? Do we know that?
Well, the picture on the album cover
Okay, yeah.
would suggest it was, but anyway, two very different sounds. But you're right, it's Clapton, isn't it? That's what we think of. And what is the sound of Clapton in the Blues Breakers?
the room.
The room, isn't it?
It's the room
Yeah.
because they couldn't put the mic close enough to the amp.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's too loud.
and that is just such a huge part of the sound.
Yeah.
So the idea of that sound coming out of a pedal is bonkers. Sorry, isn't it?
Yes.
Imagine mixing that record must have been a flaming nightmare because that guitar was.
I don't think that all they could have done is like put the fader up.
Yeah,
I was like, well, that's it. Nothing else we can do.
yeah. But like you said, it's the room. It's probably the drum overheads.
Yeah.
Probably like
All of it.
the sound of that amp is
Any open
in
mic.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Few people can hear it, so apologies for that. Someone was saying their car is being stolen. If you could steal my Mini, that would be awesome, because it just... Catherine and I have a little rolling bet about how long it will go without an engine light coming on. we got 8 miles the other day. It's the great deception of modern diesels,
Right.
because they can't put out the pollutants they need to put out.
To drive properly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And that's a good thing, by the way, environmentally speaking. But we've all bought these diesels, and none of them work. Because, anyway, that's a whole other story. I think I'm right in saying diesel really wasn't a thing in the States, was it, in the way that it was here?
No, there was a big push on it over here for a couple of years, wasn't there?
It was all you could buy for a long time. And maybe not so much in continental Europe. Do you know, in Greece, diesel is still cheaper than petrol. How does that work?
Strange.
Whereas here, diesel is much more expensive.
Expensive, yeah.
Why? Because most cars are diesel. Anyway, there we are. Should I complain a bit more?
Is that an annoyed noise or the sound of a diesel there?
My Mini sounds like a tractor. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, I'll come in on my bicycle tomorrow. Diesel bike.
With your hot toddy.
Yeah. S. Crawford Music says, Robin's work with that Dumble has meant so much to me. It's not just a great guitar amp, it's so much part of the music. You've documented something very special. Thank you for that.
Thank you,
says
mate.
Sam.
Yeah, we were aware of the gravity of it while we were filming, because to hear Robin be in the room with Robin playing into a Dumble, his Dumble, it's like it's peak. But I don't know peak what, but it was whatever that peak is, because it's just like, well, this is peak life. It was just
Flat peak.
unbelievable.
Life.
Yep, peak. Yeah. Anyway, it was just extraordinary. Absolutely
Could be a
extraordinary.
good format for a show, wouldn't it? We get various leg ends in with, Anyway, let's move on. Glad you enjoyed it, Sam. It was, like Dan says, it's a big deal. Sean Jeremilatos says, on another note, this morning was a rough one mentally. We're sorry to hear that, Sean. He says, it's a good day to join the TPS family. Thank you for all the interest and joy you bring.
Thank you, buddy.
We hope you're doing okay, Sean.
Yeah.
Hopefully you feel at home in the community. Mom, I'm pretty sure it's not my mom.
Okay.
Is it your mum?
Probably.
Okay, Dan's mom says, Chris, how on earth do you make your lead playing sound like you have a slide on without playing a slide? It's so vocal-like. Sorry for such a broad question.
Thank you. Don't know. Let's have a look. It's, again, kind of talked about it in the past, I guess. I went through a phase, and still now, I guess, occasionally, of trying to emulate singers. And it's a lot of that kind of just looking at alternative ways of approaching things and alternative ways of getting to notes. So if you're doing, so think, you want to play instead of, or whatever, like,
Oh, that's lovely.
and adding
There you
one of
go.
those stupid little things in there, but like,
But you hear how in tune, just for people who can hear that at home, the one thing that I've come to appreciate about really fine guitar players is just how in tune, and so much of it is your left hand, but also the not over picking so it goes sharp on everything.
Yeah.
You know.
we were talking about this a bit earlier. I'm very guilty of this live, I think, and it's an adrenaline thing of digging in and playing too hard and kind of like occasionally squeezing notes sharp. And it's just an adrenaline, it's just an energy thing of like feeding off the crowd a little bit and learning to, you want to embrace that because that's part of the fun of a live gig is playing to the crowd a little bit. We did a show on the tour we've just done up in Chester and it was amazing. It was absolutely rammed in there, cool, like proper, like sweaty rock venue. It was amazing. And the crowd were wild. It was like Friday night, just well up for it. and it was a particularly good gig. I think we all had a good show, you know. But looking back at the footage, I filmed a bit of the gig from my amp, just stuck my phone on my amp and filmed it back. And watching some of it, I'm just kind of like, not cringing, but you looking back going, I'm just too caught up in the moment.
Yeah,
there.
okay.
That's kind of like, I'm overplaying and I'm just digging in a little bit hard because they're giving me so much back.
Yeah.
So learning to kind of like manage that and learning to kind of like feed off them and get stuff off them at the same time, but not going too much in on that. But going back to the slidey thing, I used to say this years ago, but weirdly, a good reference point of it is from Oliver, the music. It's a song called Where Is Love, which I don't know why that has like stuck in my head forever. We did a school musical version of Oliver when I was like, I don't know, 12 or whatever it was. And I just remember a guy in my year was cast as Oliver, despite zero musical talent, singing Where Is Love very tunelessly. Craig, if you watch it, sorry.
Tunelessly.
Tunelessly, horrifically. And it's such a kind of like fluctuating up and down melody. If you can't sing, it's horrific. And it's that kind of... That's the melody. And I don't know whether it was because I heard it so badly that I set about trying to play it correctly. Rectify it in some way. But doing that with bends... there we go. It's hard because it's like...
Yeah.
And when you come down to that
was
bend...
EastEnders.
yeah, it was, wasn't it? But when you come back down to that note, you don't go back down to resting. You've got to go back a pitch bend.
Yeah.
So a half a step bend. So it's... And then the note you're aiming for when you come back down isn't that. It's that. So you've got to go...
In love.
It's really hard.
Gotta try now.
There you go. If you want to play like Chris, show tunes.
EastEnders. Yeah.
Oh man, alive.
It's a big old bend. You got it.
But you go straight up to that being perfectly in tune. That's amazing.
That kind of auto-tune.
Hang on. That's great.
It's hard. It's virtually impossible, especially on thick old strings. But practicing stuff like that will get your accuracy up.
Right.
I find, and that's why, like, it's rare that I'll attempt anything as mental as that. But that kind of like we talked about earlier, that Paul Davis thing. This fair old kind of like all those kind of slides where you're sliding from like a bend on the 3rd fret. A full tone bend on the 3rd fret to a full tone bend on your 6th fret, and you gotta like come rain or come shine, you're aiming for that note.
I said more sharp. Come on. Go. Well,
There you go.
But you can send me the whole tone.
So
up,
whole
yeah?
tone, yeah. I mean, you could do half tone. You could go to the 7th fret and bend to the 8th, but.
For all of you out there wishing to try this, you might be best off on a relatively fixed to bridge guitar. If you try it on a Strat with a floating vibrato, you're giving yourself a whole
How did you go about that with a Strat? Were you locked down?
Yeah,
okay.
Never used tram on a Strat, so it was always locked off. But honestly, a massive part of it is just knowing the guitar you're playing. Yeah. If I picked that, for argument's sake,
and string gauge.
Yeah, string gauge and knowing the feel of the guitar. See if I can. It's just natural. What a break. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, funny.
Quick one from the Weekend Warrior. Clapton Beano album, treble booster or not?
No.
Nope.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
No evidence.
As fans of crank Marshalls and understanding what treble boosters do, we would all say no.
No.
I did actually, again, because I'm boring, I did a video trying to kind of like dig into that and got a relatively kind of closely spec'd amp and an old treble booster, and it was so much closer without the treble booster. It's just, I
mean, if you do have a 212 Blues Breaker and a Les Paul and you plug it in and turn it up, you will understand that that's what that sound is. Room and reverb notwithstanding, but
jinxed myself on my fingers. Falling apart today.
Chris Smith, he says hi from Folsom in California.
Do 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 do.
But that never gets old, does it?
He says, I got lucky and snagged tickets to David Gilmour at the Royal Albert Hall in October. It will be my first show there, and I'm so excited. Please take a question from the chat. Enjoy that. The Albert Hall is a very special place.
Yeah.
And I rather hope Davey G is going to be on fire. Not actually on fire, but playing wise. That would be bad. Not least for the good of the Albert Hall, but you know what I mean. Let's see. Right, Evan Wood. There's a question from Evan Wood. He says, what pedal inspires you right now? BK Butler Tube Driver for me.
Nice.
Only because I haven't played Chris's new pedal yet.
I tried a BK Butler Tube Driver once and couldn't go on with it.
Most people hate them. Yeah.
I've been treated. That was a long time ago. I've been treated back in my Tube Screamer days when that was all I was kind of looking for.
The knobs on the Tube Driver make no sense at all to most people. So I have the output there, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 2 to 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
The treble there.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
The bass about there.
Yeah.
And the drive there.
Right. Okay.
So you would never tweak it to that, and that sounds pretty rocking to me.
Okay. I've got what I did like, which I bought years ago, was a Dover Drive by Hamida. But I think it was Love Pedal.
Love Pedal,
Yeah, sure.
And that I liked, and I think that's based on a BK Butler. So I'd be intrigued to try BK Butler again. It's the legendary. At least Dave Gilmour is the kind of like, that's what people tend to think of, isn't it? With that.
He's to reiterate something to revisit something we talked about earlier. Again, elements of Gilmour's sound make no sense. Like you get the Big Muff out and it's like, well, that doesn't sound like Gilmour. You get the High Watt out and it's like, well, that doesn't really sound like Gilmour. And then you put it all together and add David Gilmour and it sounds like David Gilmour.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
I'm going to say the Analog Man Bad Bob Boost.
Ah.
That was. It was my fuzz and my treble booster for the gigs.
Nice.
Yeah, such a great pedal.
Dan and I are going to make a video going over the boards we used for the gigs and doing a post-mortem on it.
I honestly, because it's been so long since I've played live, and I learnt so much from doing those gigs and the rehearsals and stuff. It was just so much fun.
Oh, we totally reflect on it. We're going to make that video tomorrow morning. So before another Chris arrives for a visit, Chris Benson is coming in tomorrow, which will be really fascinating, not least because he can fix our reverb, which I'm looking forward to. And we can just get inside his head a bit. He's kind of elusive, is Chris. He's not all over the interwebs, and he's got some very high-profile connections and makes killer-sounding stuff. So it's going to be really great to meet him. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to... No,
Dead
it's all
air?
good. No,
Gag?
no. There was a gag, but it was. It was.
Were you going to say hope he plays on Broadway? Were you
It was
say that?
tenuous. Boy, oh boy.
No?
Yeah. Anyway.
Most of the gags today have been.
Did anyone get my Broadway gag or not?
No, but I guess that's just because a reference.
That's
George Benson.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, I was thinking about that character from that 80s TV show in America, Benson. Yeah. But nothing came to mind. That's how I just remember him being called Benson. That's a swing and a miss. Benson Dubois. Anyway.
Nice.
Anyway.
Well, that was a tangent.
There you go.
Much swinging and missing, yeah, but that's okay. We've had Chris, we've had Mom. Paul Matulovic. He says, I would like to give an earnest thanks to Chris for the introduction to Hello Sailor.
Oh, cool.
Oh, very cool.
He says, Joe has been a wonderful human to us all.
He's a good bloke.
Sure has.
We've been lucky enough to welcome Joe here on an Experience Day.
We came to Experience Day, he made pedals for everyone.
No,
on
no way.
Experience Day.
Oh, amazing.
It was just wild. It's so funny. He made my favourite troll booster in the world. So under the underliner there,
Yes.
It's the big one there.
Oh right, yeah,
That's
it's
it.
that treble booster,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got the If you take this off, under the bottom of it, it says made while following 3 subs at. I mean, and the components and stuff he uses are just wild.
It's a bonkers
But
good
that-
sounding thing.
Is an amazing troll booster. But I think that he must have scuttled a ship or something and gone and taken off all the electronics. It's gone, yeah, this ship's stuffed, boys. Just
I've borrowed the main fluxomasolator from the lower shaft room.
it's such a wicked sounding thing.
Thomas Eichinger. For those of you who didn't get that, it's Joe from Hello Sailor Effects. Hello Sailor Effects. Thomas Eichinger says, just want to let you know I was looking forward the whole week to today's Q&A.
Ah,
Nice one, Thomas. He says, take a question from the regular chat. Okie and indeed dokie. Right, InView Images wants to know, I'm not sure if this has been asked or not, from InView Images. Was Chris wet dry or stereo in the recent Glasgow gig? It's the best sound I've heard in a long time and an improvement over the previous Glasgow gig. Amazing fidelity.
Oh, cool. I mean, the previous Glasgow gig was horrendous. That's one of those. I don't know where venues get their capacities from. I think it's technically the amount of fire exits you have, and if you have enough fire exits, you can fit 5,000 people in a room that should hold about 10. And that was one of those rooms. Was in Glasgow, the prior Glasgow gig.
Are you moaning about having too many people at your gig?
Well, yeah, but like at a point, like we did a gig in talking to Jake about this. We did a gig in Zurich a couple of months ago, and it was technically because it was like our first time out there, so kind of like the capacities varied on every kind of night, and it was probably the smallest gig on that tour. It was about a 200 capacity room. You would have put 75 people in that room, and it would have been cozy. And you had 200 people in there. You had people leaving during the first song because they couldn't see or hear anything. I'm like, well, that's just crap. That's like, at that point, the only people who want a sold-out gig are the band because it was slap sold out on it. As a punter, that's horrendous. I just would not be interested in that in the slightest. And the prior Glasgow gig was one of those, just not very comfortable. But the recent one at the Aura Moor was great fun. To answer the question, it's not wet dry. I did wet dry for a while after you set it up. I'd be interested to revisit wet dry now we've got our own front house, so I'd trust to do a little bit more of a consistent blend. But prior to that, just relying on guys who don't particularly not very good sound guys, but guys who just don't know your sound.
Yeah, right.
Every night it's going to be like, oh well, is it dripping or is it dry as whatever. So it's not wet dry. Everything's in the front. The only element of wet dry going on, I guess, is the harmonic trem in the concert, and no harmonic trem in the super reverb. So,
but everything else is straight in the front.
Everything else straight in the front.
Amazing.
Yeah. Again, like having done a couple of gigs, just kind of like flying in and using rented backline or over the past couple of months, just not having to fanny about with effects loops. It's just kind of like just go straight in the front.
Yeah,
and you're going to get a level of consistency there.
Absolutely.
And I've never really used effects loops either, so there's a distinct lack of understanding there on my part. So that could probably be rectified by a bit of work, but. The last thing I want to look into in my spare time is effects loops.
I'm so inspired by the sound of the Dumble, the clean sound of the Dumble, and indeed the little Walter, that I'm now on the hunt for the most open, ultimate, clean thing, and just start and finding the pedals that match with it, and just do that. Just do that forever.
Couple of quick fires. Dorman says, before the end of the show, I'd love Chris to say, welcome to Friday Fretworks.
Welcome to Friday Fretworks. I've got, apparently I have a very distinct Friday Fretworks voice, and I have everything else voice. And vocabulary as well, apparently. I don't know, all the boys in the band take the piss out of me being, I don't know, a very different character in person as opposed to online. I don't know, it's just... People can't understand what I'm saying for the most part, so I need to slow down and enunciate my words and be less Welsh and less kind of like million mile an hour. He says at speed. So
give us a nice clear one then.
Hello, I'm Chris Buck, and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks.
Very good. Very good.
That was for you. That was for you, Dormant. A quick one from Stephen Barlow. Dan, how do you get on with the SG Trem system?
I don't. It's locked off, but I love it. It's such a cool looking thing.
For all of those people out there who believe that the sound only comes from the pickups of the guitar, it's still on there because it looks great, but it also does significantly affect the tone of the guitar, even though it's locked off.
Dude, you got over 200k subs on your Friday Fretworks.
Yeah.
That's amazing, mate. Congratulations. That's
you, man.
awesome.
Thank you. If only all of them watched every week, that'd be sensational.
Quick one from Mango. What pedal that everyone loves do you not like?
Good question.
Blues Breakers for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fair one. I think it's not that I don't like it, but someone ruined it for me. Tube Screamer.
Yeah.
After years of like convincing myself that was what I was going for, because that's what all the guys, having gone through like a big Stevie Ray phase, especially. And then someone came up to me at a gig and said, "Does the clean blend not annoy you?" I'm like, "That's what it is. That's what's always bugged me, because I was running it into a clean amp."
Yeah.
Is like, even if you get a fair amount of gain going on, there was still something bugging me. I was like, "Oh, it's the clean blend."
It just to clarify, there isn't actually a clean blend. It just doesn't distort the lower frequencies in the same way.
Okay.
Is that right, Dan? In a Tube Screamer.
Yeah. So because it's soft clipping, and because that you have a capacitor and like a little network in the loop of the op amp with the diodes, it's not clipping those frequencies, and therefore those frequencies aren't distorted in the op amp. So there's basically distortion in parallel, and you get this the bass frequencies are sort of left alone. So yeah, it is there is clean in there as well. I mean, anyway.
If you were running into a dirty amp, I don't think it would matter, would it? Because you wouldn't notice it particularly, but running into a clean amp.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why it got used in that metal scenario.
Yeah.
Whereas
Completely.
into a rectifier or a 6550 or a crank Marshall for that matter, that's one of the things that helped it maintain clarity in the low end, which is kind of what it was used for. But,
yeah, absolutely.
Albus Band, Aaron is on. Hello, Aaron. Lovely
mate.
to hear from you, mate. He says, I love her each weekday, each velvety cheek day.
You know what I mean.
Aaron always gives us a nice Final Tap quote. But on to more serious matters, he says... unreal few episodes with Mr. Ford, and it was needed after the passing of Steve Albini.
Yeah.
Love you all. Hope you're doing great. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for saying that. Tim Chandler. Hello, Tim. He says, one more kudos for Dan's lessons. Please do more.
Ah.
And here's to the greatest show on the internet.
Bless
Friday
you.
Fretworks.
Friday Fretworks. Yeah.
He says, TPS Q&A. Monday is my only day off. Thank you, TPS. That's cool. Actually, a bit of housekeeping. A few people have noticed that pedal shop is no more. Yes, that pedal shop is no more. We tried it. We did it for a while. It didn't really do the business that we had wanted it to do. So we turned it off.
Cool.
With massive thanks to everyone who bought something from that pedal shop. For any of you who's bought something recently, worried about warranties and stuff, please don't worry about any of that. Everything will be taken care of. The information is on, if you go to thatpedalshop.com, you will see. But yeah, it just didn't really work in the way that we'd hoped. So been there, done that.
Yep. Give it a go.
Yeah,
Swing and
and
miss.
with big thanks to the people in the States who helped us bring it to life as well. But yeah, it didn't really... I think one thing we discovered was the world of music online retail is a very competitive and aggressive place.
That is true.
Which is probably best left to the big players in the business.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks to everyone who did buy something, and like we say, all the stuff like warranties and returns and all of that on pedals is still in place. Don't worry about any of that. It's all good.
Oh, did you hear Sam Ash's shut?
Yeah, that was some time ago, wasn't it? No? Or have I I knew it was going to shut. Maybe.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Very interesting. I've had quite a few conversations about retail with people over the past few weeks. A lot of people telling me it's a very different environment post-COVID.
Yeah, right.
Extremely different environment for all kinds of reasons.
COVID seemed to affect a lot of buying habits, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of like ticket sales as well, noticed a kind of a reluctance to buy tickets for things well in advance.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, that wasn't necessarily there before. Like a good example, when we did played in Frankfurt or something recently, we had like the pre-sale numbers. So, and it's a bugger because it affects the amount of T-shirts you take on tour. Because obviously you base your numbers off like how many people you think are going to actually be there every night, and then what percentage of those might buy a T-shirt.
And that's really important revenue, right? Because you don't make the cash out of records like used to be made.
Yeah. So yeah, it's frustrating then to a degree where you get pre-sale numbers, and then you turn up on the night a week later after your latest update, and there's like 50% more people, or like 100% more people even in some circumstances, and it's kind of like, that's great because the room is now absolutely rammed, but we haven't got enough T-shirts now to get through the end of the tour if you all buy one.
Yeah, right.
And then you're trying to source T-shirts on the road in the back of a van in apparently a horrendously expensive country to buy T-shirts. So, yeah. But yeah, it's just buying habits, I think, seem to have changed, you know.
Yeah, I think, well, everyone went crazy, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because
and
there
then
was a bit of spare cash kicking around, and then all the sales managers of the big companies said, "Yeah, sure, this will continue."
yes.
Yeah, this didn't continue. Anyway, sorry, that's a bit dark. Antonio Marcello, what's the matter?
Nothing. Please carry on.
Should I depress everyone further, Daniel? Just watch the news. You don't need TPS for that. Antonio Marcello says, "Hey guys, big love from Northern Ontario, in Canada. My question to you: what would you do to gain attention in a new band trying to make a name?" Chris, you've just done this. What would you do? What did you do?
Don't want to have done it. I mean, long coats in music videos seems to help.
Long coats in music videos.
People love a long coat.
That is brilliant.
Can you pull a Nero move?
Yeah. I'm getting out of a slow-moving car to do a guitar solo.
You're in a dream world,
Neo, not Nero. Neo.
One's an emperor. One's Keanu Reeves.
Oh, I'm so crap at anything remotely sci-fi.
One's a
coffee shop.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm kind of glad I don't know this stuff.
I don't know. If I figure that one out, I'll let you know. What's the Beatles thing, wouldn't it, when they arrived in the US for the first time, I think? Like, what do you think makes you so popular with the kids? We're like, we don't know. If we knew that, we'd form another band and we'd be their managers.
I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
Do you think writing and recording some good music is part of it? Do you think
but yeah, probably helpful.
Yeah.
I think, writing stuff that connects with people maybe, but I don't know, I think the inevitable frustration of all the other elements of what we do, the actual making of music is relatively a small amount of part of that.
Yeah.
Kind of making sure.
It's a big engine.
Yeah,
behind everything else.
Running it as a business, as boring as that is, everything we do is kind of is business minded in terms of, well, how much is this going to generate? Is that a kind of loss leader worth taking at this point in time? And like the Frampton tour we did, we got paid 250 quid a night for that. So like, all right, we've done some massive venues with Peter Frampton. We ran at about a $6,000 loss maybe for 3 dates, and you're like, well, on paper that's diabolical. In reality, then next time we play London, the show is ran because even if there's a very small amount of people who saw us at the Royal Albert Hall, Peter Frampton, actually like what we do, they're more than likely going to come and check us out next time we play in London. And
it's good. What's good about that is the people who are seeing you there are people who go to gigs.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like
it's not just like there's a bit of extra airplay.
Yeah.
It's like, no, these people are actually actively going out and listening to music.
And like guitar orientated music.
There you
so
go.
it's like, well, you trade that off. Like we did, obviously, the Miles Kennedy thing I mentioned. That was a great tour for us in terms of the amount of people who still turn up at our shows wearing Miles Kennedy t-shirts. 2.5 years on is incredible. Did that tour with the Struts that I mentioned, doing pretty much all of the same venues to the same amount of people. I don't think we really connected with the Struts audience. I don't think I've ever met anyone at one of our shows who's like, I saw you with the Struts. So it was a great
Yeah.
fortnight around the UK, but it didn't really kind of yield many fans. So in that respect, maybe that wasn't the kind of the tour for us. But you just kind of weigh things up, and every decision has got to be, what will this yield? The long coat,
Okay.
definitely.
There you go. I hope that answered the question, Antonio. How do you feel about the reality of organic growth as an artist versus having a machine?
I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone came along with a machine and offered it to us, it'd be nice to experience it for
But
a
you
bit.
had good management, right? And you
Yeah.
had people that could book tours and do
It's
agents and things.
Yeah, it's all relative. Like, for example, to use the Struts as an example, Struts obviously got a solid following over here. We did all of those run-off shows with them. Shepherd's Bush was full, all the O2 Academy. So that's like 1,500 to 2,000 people a night in the UK for albeit a British band, but hello, Rosie. But for a band that's actually based in the US these days, and I've had some very big songs used in Sing was one of them, the kids film Sing, Halsey,
Right.
I don't know how to say her name, sorry, covered that. So they've had some, for a modern band, very big moments of success.
Yeah, right.
And then I was listening to a podcast that Jed, their bass player, did the other day, talking about the frustrations of, he said, the first tour that Greta Van Fleet ever did was supporting the Struts. And now a couple of years later, Greta Van Fleet are filling arenas.
Yeah, wow.
And
Really?
Yeah. Like, you look at the size places the Greta Van Fleet are doing over here, they're doing massive places. And like, what's the Italian band as well? Maneskin? Obviously won Eurovision, I think won the Italian X Factor or something maybe. And you kind of, again, it seems like quite a rapid trajectory. For Greta Van Fleet and for Maneskin, it seems to have equated to a bit of longevity as well, kind of more power to it. I guess the potential downside of a quick ascent is an equally quick descent.
Yeah.
Because I think organically you build a dedicated following, and especially in the type of music that we play, it tends to be, it's not particularly music that's of the moment. It's not popular now. It's not unpopular, but it's not wildly popular at this moment in time. You're not
It's
trying
not
to
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, you're not trying to cater to an audience that is following trends generally. You kind of cater to an audience that likes this type of music. And I guess the kind of the plus side of that is that you develop a fan base who are probably gonna, as long as you're together, will follow you quite happily to the end of the earth.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's the kind of social media side of it, and trying to maintain growth through all that side of things is a very different frustration. I just wish we could just write and play music and all that kind of stuff, but you've got to kind of feed the beast and play the game a little bit. But in terms of like the actual path you take and the booking of shows and the kind of gradually stepping up in terms of venue sizes, like there was a conversation we had prior to this tour. It's obviously a bit of a punt for us to do bigger places like Shepherd's Bush Empire.
Yeah.
And I don't think in a month of Sundays, we're not going to fill Shepherd's Bush Empire. The last headline London show we did was Islington Assembly Hall, which was 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And to go from 1,000 people to your next venue you book in London is 2,000 people for Shepherd's Bush Empire in the space of a year. That's a big old jump. We're not going to fill that venue. But you have to kind of, at some point, you have to take the leap, I guess. So it's all, kind of considered decisions. So...
But yeah, I think what we're getting from this is a very high level of commitment and being serious about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like write a couple songs, do a couple gigs, and someone will discover you.
No.
That doesn't.
No. I mean, there was, even before the launch of Cardinal Black, there was about a year pre-production or kind of like all work that went into launching the band. The last thing that we wanted to do was the kind of typical new band thing of, kind of make the Instagram account, makes the Facebook page, and do the big things coming soon post. And again, I guess the kind of the benefit that my YouTube channel afforded us was that, and social media, I guess, by extension, was that we could go live as one on a Friday evening and kind of go, here we are, here's everything, here's the website, here's t-shirts, here's merch if you want to buy it, if you want to support us, here's the first single, here's the music video, everything kind of like available as one. Not every band is as lucky as that, and you have to kind of do the drip feed approach, but obviously because of my social media, because of the YouTube stuff, we're in that position. But inevitably there was a very quick kind of like surge of interest in the band there, and the video accrued a lot of views. The single kind of did very well, all this kind of stuff. Inevitably, part of you kind of thinks, oh, well, long may that continue. And inevitably, that tapers off a little bit
Yeah.
and kind of slows down because it's not feasible for that speed to be maintained. But as long as it is, generally speaking, you look at the trajectory and go, we are going upwards, I think that's a positive. That's all you can ask for these days.
How do you find the split between, you said earlier that, the actual making music part, it ends up being quite a small part of what it is you have to do. How do you find splitting that in terms of tasks that people have to complete and also brain space for you? Do you find that you can step in and out of being musician and organizer quite easily?
To a degree, like now, having been filming with you guys, chat my phone in between filming, and there's a new WhatsApp group has been created called US Visa, and it's all like a big kind of like load of kind of things to fill in and stuff. Our visa's been granted, the first part of it at the very least. So stuff like that is the daily, kind of like that's the daily occurrence within the band. It's just paperwork, or kind of like we're just going through the motions now for this live release. So all of the I do all of the artwork at this moment in time anyway. So all of the kind of like proofs and dealing with that kind of stuff and submitting artwork for approval, etc., etc. It's just that's the boring bit that I kind of wish I could at some point in the near future delegate to not only
delegate.
someone else but someone who's better at it than me. Because I'm not a bloody graphic designer.
Yeah.
But at the moment in time, there's not the cash flow to be throwing money around saying you do this and we'll pay you to do it. So yeah. I guess I do find it relatively easy to kind of hop between different headspaces, but it would be so much more enjoyable, and I would just get so much more enjoyment out of the band if
you didn't have to do all that stuff.
Yeah, if it was purely
totally.
just the music. But I think that's naive in this day and age. I think even massively successful. I mean, to use someone like Mick Jagger as an example, I don't think that's ever happened for Mick Jagger because he always wants to have an eye on the kind of physical side of the band, even if he doesn't necessarily have to. But then, I think it's probably naive of me to hope that we will ever get to that point because I don't think it's viable, particularly in this day and age. You always have to, if you want to do it as a profitable, lucrative business, you always have to be able to at least do certain elements of the more mundane stuff yourself.
Sure.
There you go, people. Please buy the next Cardinal Black album and go and see them when they're on tour, and buy a T-shirt. But that's it. That's what enables artists to keep doing their thing, right?
Yeah.
And good. So there you go. Hopefully
you printed
that didn't...
vinyl.
Yep, we got vinyl. We got, again, like vinyl's astronomically expensive to buy. It's a good markup on it, but actually having the capital laid around in the first place when, like I said, this year has just been expensive because we're opening up new territories that at least initially don't pay particularly well. So it's expensive to go over to Europe and do a couple of weeks around there and stuff. With gigs that don't pay particularly well, it's the first time you've been over there, etc., etc. So to come back off the back of that and go, right, live album, we need to buy vinyl. We've kind of depleted our, kind of bank balance over the past couple of weeks feeding the crew. So,
They do get hungry.
They do get hungry, yeah. Some more than others.
There you go, Antonio. Hopefully that hasn't put you off.
Yeah, fair one, yeah, sorry.
That's the reality. It's the reality. G-Barge is last in this week. Hello, G. He says, gentlemen, shout out to Joe Bishop, who sorted my new pedalboard build with professionalism.
Oh, good on you, Joe.
It's too easy to take for granted. Hello, Gen X14. Can't wait to tear it all down and build it up again. Cheers, guys.
That's brilliant. Oh, thank you, mate. I really appreciate that.
Nice one, G.
Yeah, Joe's a good egg.
Have you ever smelt a bad egg?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's not good.
No, not a good egg.
Literally.
Opposite to a good egg.
It's like yin and yang.
I had a funny conversation with Joe a while ago, and he came up with a great line. I was trying to sort out HX Stomp and MIDI with the G3. I could not. All I wanted it to do, which I got there in the end, but I wanted one foot switch on the G3 to be up preset and the next one to be down. And for the life of me, could not get my head around it. And I spent like all day doing it and just could not get it. And it was doing my head. I was back and forth with Joe. He was kind of struggling with it. It was a HX Stomp thing in the end. Just couldn't. There was like a kind of sub menu and a sub menu, etc., etc. And spent a bit of time on FaceTime. Couldn't get to the bottom of it, and it was just doing my head in. And we kind of went to bed one night, and I'm led there awake with it just kind of like churning over in my mind. I'm like, I've got to get up and do this now. So I got out of bed at about 1 o'clock in the morning. Went, set everything up in the living room there with it, just pressing things, trying to make things happen. I thought I'll just pour myself a drink. A new bottle of whiskey that my father-in-law bought me for Christmas. I was there probably about 4 hours. I went to bed about 6 o'clock in the morning, having worked my way through quite a lot of this whiskey. Did not in the slightest bit feel drunk because I was concentrating so much on the thing. It was only when I stood up I realised quite how drunk I was. And I remember I emailed Joe then the next day going, I've done it, and FaceTimed him to show him. And he's like, and told him the circumstances. He's like, what you've done there is completed MIDI on hard mode. And I'm like, yeah, fair one. So, yeah, good job to thank for that one.
Oh, very good.
A couple to finish off. Kurt Schaffenberg says, are you shutting down your merch business? Emphatically no, Kurt. That pedalshowstore.com is by far the thing that keeps us going. If that pedal show store shuts down, that pedal show stops tomorrow. Literally that. I can't say it any clearer than that. So that pedal show store is up and running. Please buy t-shirts. A bit like Cardinal Black, it really keeps us in business.
Yeah.
The thing we're stopping doing was a thing called That Pedal Shop in the US, which was a third-party site that sold pedals and gear. So we're not doing that. Merch store, That Pedal Show store, emphatically open. If that stops, we stop. It's as simple as that.
And Chris, our first ever customer at pedalshowstore.com.
Done my bit.
There you go.
Do yours.
There you go. Be like Chris.
That pedal show
It
needs
will
you.
make you. It will make you a better player. Obviously, look at what's happened.
Yeah.
And we heard him before he had bought his TPS shirt, and it was like, oh
One of those
man.
Benz is like,
And
it's
then-
never going to
no,
happen, mate.
No, and then
Couldn't
the
play-
shirt goes on, magic.
I sounded like Craig singing Where Is Love? Right, yeah.
That's what he sounded like
That's
before.
right.
Yeah. Oh dear. It might be time for meat feast.
Meat feast.
Hungry by any chance?
Yeah. Good. Right, everyone, thank you for being here. Chris, thanks so much for joining
Yes,
us.
Oh,
buddy.
pleasure. Thanks,
It's been
boys.
awesome, mate.
It's been great hanging out
great
today, hearing you play the guitar and the ever unfolding
I just
saga
had one,
that is your
one
rig.
last
Wall of
look.
Brown.
One last look at that. Browntown, baby.
Yay!
There it is.
1961 Fender Concert, 1966 rehoused Bassman.
Super Reaver.
Super Reverb Bassman. Reverb Super. It's because it's brown, you see.
It's a joke within the band. Every week I turn up with a different variation of reverb. Pro reverb, super reverb, amateur reverb.
Reverb de super.
You could just mumble, couldn't you? You go, reverb. What have you got this week? Reverb.
Reverb.
Yeah.
I did a brief stint in Gamlin's music shop as work experience boy when I was about 15, and my nickname was Blobble because nobody can understand me. So,
Blobble.
Blobble. Apparently, I said something that came out like Blobble, so my nickname was Blobble. Thankfully, it didn't stick. Hence the
You
Friday
heard that
Fretworks
here.
voice. Yeah.
I think Chris and Dan should play us out this week.
Where is the love? Simultaneously
Okay. All right.
in A.
See you next week.
I mean, we're not in tune with each other.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Booze explosion!
Booze explosion.